Warning, the following podcast contains adult language, themes, and situations. Also, the film we're about to talk about is going to be spoiled thoroughly. Listener discretion is advised. Enjoy the show.
What happens when you bring one of Nicolas Cage's most insane characters back from the dead and drop him in the middle of a mediocre crime drama? Well, you get a mediocre movie with a bafflingly strange character who is a shell of what made him interesting in the first place. So join us as we journey through a boring slog that one critic called the worst movie of 2017, Arsenal.
Okay, let's run.
I'm like a prickly pear.
What do you say we cut the chit-chat? A-hole! Porker, how'd it get burned? How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned, honey?
Have you ever been dragged to the sidewalk and beat until you
Pissed blood!
Welcome to One Cage at a Time, the show where we break down every single Nicolas Cage movie, one film at a time. Here are your hosts, Patrick, Vince, and Nigel.
When a protective older brother gets in over his head with a sadistic mob boss, his younger brother must risk everything to rescue him and unleash vengeance upon a ridiculous character straight out of a comic book.
Ladies and gentlemen, here are your stars.
Arsenal stars Nick's Con Air co-star who brings nothing to this movie besides a do-rag, John Cusack, the guy who had such an amazing entourage they made a whole TV series about it, Adrian Grenier, the lead singer of the amazing one-hit wonder That Thing You Do, Jonathan Schaech? How do you say his name?
I think it's Skeech or
Skeech?
Skeek.
Skeek. I'm sorry, Jonathan, but your last name is bizarre.
Gobbledygook.
Let's just pronounce it different every time.
All right.
Ow, my head.
Snatch.
Snitch,
Jonathan
snatch.
Snatch.
Sneech.
Just keep that whole
Sneech.
thing. Lindsey from Van Wilder Lydia Hull, and of course, a man that was too distracted by some fucking hangers to adjust his hairpiece, Academy Award-winning actor who doesn't give a fuck that his character died in 1993's Nicolas Kim Coppola, better known as Nicolas Cage. My wife probably woke up.
Patrick, hit us with some stats, won't you?
Arsenal, for some reason, was released on January 6th, 2017, which I just was putting together the show sheet for The Old Way, which was released on the exact same day 6 years later. Weird coincidence. That seems to happen to us a lot, these little weird coincidences. What are the odds that I would just choose two movies in a row that came out on the same day 6 years apart?
Yeah, that happens to me all the time. Tons of coincidences. So it's because I'm on the show.
Yeah, well, I mean, could be, it's all simulation, man.
Yeah,
It's fate.
It's fate. At a budget of $10 million estimated. I don't think it was that high. Because Mandy had a $3 million budget, if I remember right.
Yeah, but Nick Cage probably wanted to do Mandy, so he probably didn't. I'm guessing he asked for his scale cut for this one.
Yeah.
Maybe took a hit on Mandy.
I couldn't find any legit budget, 100% confirmed numbers. This was just an estimate somebody just threw up somewhere. Of $10 million, but it made $40,037.
God damn.
I want that budget to be true now, so this can be the biggest flop that we've had.
Yeah. It would be,
this one would be by far, though I think Deadfall was pretty expensive. And it only made $18,000 or something like that.
Okay. That's fitting.
This, they go. They
sequel.
really are sequels to each other in many different ways. It was directed by Stephen C. Miller, who, according to the commentary on the movie, is a real sought out director that everybody loves to work with. But he's done mostly horror. He did a movie called Silent Night, which is a remake of the 1985 Silent Night movie. I don't know if anybody in the world ever saw either of those, but
Deadly Night. That was the one
that's a different one.
That just came out. Was that the one last year, or was that a different one?
Yeah, the one with
David Harbour.
Hopper, yeah.
Oh yeah. Where he's
that's like Silent Night, Deadly Night.
I think it's just called Deadly Night, but yeah,
Deadly Night.
It's a hidden sequel to the Silent Night remake.
Very hidden.
Yeah. Both films.
Malcolm McDowell battles a murderous Santa Claus in that movie.
Oh,
in case you're ever in the mood for whatever that is.
I would rather watch that.
Alex Delarge from Clockwork Orange battling Santa Claus.
That's awesome.
He also did Extraction, which is part of Bruce Willis's the beginning of his direct-to-video run of 40 films that he did from 2015 to 2023. He was doing his own Nick Cage thing for a while there. Now in hindsight, we know why, but he did an impressive amount of direct-to-video films, and Stephen C. Miller did a few of those. He also did this movie called Marauders, which I think kind of made its way into the zeitgeist a little bit. I don't know. I never saw it, but that one also had Jonathan Schaech, or however you say his name. Skeech, I think, or Skeek. And Adrian Grenier, they both worked on that, and a few other of the like extras on this film are like side characters. He also directed The Escape Plan 2, which that one at least I've heard of. That was like Stallone, right?
Yeah, he did. I saw the first one in theaters. Actually, I didn't realize there was a sequel.
There's
the first one Stallone?
First one was Stallone and Schwarzenegger.
Schwarzenegger, right? Yeah.
I don't think Schwarzenegger's in the second one, but I feel like Stallone still is. Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like they just got two big guys again and
Probably
put them in prison again.
Bruce Willis and
Bruce Willis
and
and
somebody else from The Expendables.
Some other
Stone
wrestler.
Cold.
It was written by Jason Mossberg, who has written Arsenal.
I've heard of that movie.
Yeah. Also wrote $1, which is a CBS TV series with 10 episodes.
What? No. Wow, I've never heard of that show.
And a book called My Dirty California.
Okay.
That's it. That's his career. I've noticed that in this film, there's a lot of people who are kind of at the beginning of their careers.
That makes sense.
You know, I think if we knew the real budget, it would make sense. I'm guessing that this thing was maybe $2 million. We'll get into it in the quick facts, but it was shot in 13 days. So
that explains a lot.
It does explain a lot. Yes.
Oh my God, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
He apparently shoots all of his films this way. He's kind of, it's like the new Roger Corman, where it's just like, let's just get together and shoot a movie in 13 days and hope it makes a couple bucks. And that's about it. All of these movies, kind of those Bruce Willis movies too, they all were just whipped out, super quick. Shot by Brandon Cox, who has mostly done music videos, recurring theme throughout the show. Did a video for Eminem, did one for Chris Brown. You still like that guy? And Linkin Park.
I see a lot of similarities in those Chris Brown films. In this,
a lot of beatings in this movie.
Beatings.
Yeah.
He's really good at those.
Allegedly.
He shot a few of those Bruce Willis movies. Also shot Inconceivable, which is also a Nick Cage movie. News to me. Which my brother actually said that he watched, and Cage is barely in the movie. So,
oh God, another one of those movies.
Yeah.
So,
do we have to watch that one?
Unfortunately, yeah.
If we have to watch Jiu-Jitsu, we have to watch that.
Inconceivable will be amazing in comparison to Jiu-Jitsu. So.
Yeah, I believe it.
So I would say Nick Cage's performance in Jiu-Jitsu is way better than this.
Oh, yeah. He's actually present in that film.
Yeah. And he shot a bunch of other stuff that I've never heard of. A lot of things on his IMDb, but I've never heard a single one of those things. Edited by Vincent Tabaillon. Tabaillon. I don't know. Tabaillon. Vincent Tabaillon. Baylor. I don't know. He edited Transporter 2, the first MCU Incredible Hulk, not the Ang Lee Hulk.
The Ed Norton one?
Did the Ed Norton one. Clash of the Titans, Taken 2, and Now You See Me, that magician movie. That apparently, I don't know, that was a weird phenomenon where it was like everybody was talking about that movie. Dude, and I was like, it's a movie about magicians, dude.
Yeah, but they're bad guys. I think.
I don't know. Never saw it.
Really?
I'm not going to, that's the farthest I'll go with that is that movie with Jim Carrey and Steve Carell where they were magicians. I don't remember what that was called, but anyways. Music was done by Ryan Franks and Scott Nicoli. These are the only people in this group that I truly have spent a lot of time with their work. They are the go-to composers for South Park.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
And for some reason, they really wanted to do this movie when they found out it was coming together. I don't know how you jump from South Park to this, but
they thought, oh, this is clearly a comedy.
Because they can say they did the score for a Nick Cage movie.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I would say one of the things that works in this movie, the very few things that works, is the score. But also it's kind of muted and just disappears.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing remarkable about it. It's just kind of there. But they've also worked together on such acclaimed films as Barbie Epic Road Trip, Hot Wheels City.
Nice, my favorite.
Barbie Princess Adventure. all the Kenner stuff. Yeah. They also did the South Park's games, the Fractured Butthole, the greatest name in video game history, the Stick of Truth, over 100 episodes of the show.
Nice.
And they also did the music for the Osbournes way back when.
That's weird.
Yeah.
What a career.
Interesting career. Kenner movies, South Park, the Osbournes, Arsenal.
They leave that one off the resume.
Yeah, don't tell anybody about that one. Ratings. Remarkably, this got a better rating than Deadfall. Though I will say Deadfall had a 0%, if you remember back.
Yeah.
True.
This one got a 3%.
Oh, God.
So there was one guy, I think, who gave it somewhat decent marks. It was 3.3 out of 10 on 30 reviews. So
Jeez.
does that mean one person gave it a 6 or higher to give it a 3%? Right? Yeah.
No,
I think
are you
that has
talking
to
about
be-
Rotten Tomatoes?
Yeah.
I think that means 3% of the people gave it. So that could, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, 3% of 30.
30 out of 30. Yep. One person gave it a 6 or higher.
Somebody gave this a 6. Audience score is 17%.
That's way too high.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for the end of the episode.
17%. Metacritic 25%, which, as we've discovered, Metacritic is all over the map. I almost feel like we should just throw Metacritic out, but I feel like some people go by it.
Yeah.
It's because we've talked about it forever ago in another episode. It's a weighted score.
smells like doo-doo in here.
I forgot to take the cat toilet out of the shot this time.
Yeah, they're not sponsoring us,
usually
dude.
always take it out now.
Get out of here, dude. They won't sponsor us.
I remember during the finale in season 1, I was like, talking about like what a great experience this has been. And there's like the cat just taking a shit right behind me the whole time.
Some might say our greatest moment.
That was the point when I was like, maybe I should take that out of the background. Anyway, so Metacritic weighted score, it goes by the famousness of certain critics and how much weight they have in the industry. It's just a weird scoring system. IMDb, though, I feel like is the most accurate out of all of these because it's the audience and there's like, thousands and thousands of views. And they gave it a 4 out of 10, which still seems high to me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's some zany wackiness that I guess, this movie appeals to a certain kind of audience. But
I don't know which.
I can't say what that audience is or I'll get canceled.
Yeah.
Cinema score, A++. No, this didn't come out in cinemas. This did come out.
They really paid for this rating.
This did come out in the UK and I think the Netherlands and like one other place. I think it was New
in the
Zealand.
UK, people would have mistakenly gone to it thinking it was about the football club.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
So that's probably why they released it there.
We can trick them.
Oh, this is about the footy club.
They're all Ringo Starr.
Yeah.
Get my tambourine.
How about a Coppola quick facts?
Couple of quick facts here. So, first one kind of sheds light on this title that makes no sense whatsoever. The movie was originally called Philly Fury when they wrote the script. So it was all based in Philadelphia, but it cost more than $5 to film in Philadelphia. So they moved it to Biloxi. Right after a hurricane had hit, it just devastated the area. So everybody was very desperate to get some filming in there. I even saw like a rating or a review that was like, remember that movie that was filmed locally not too long ago? Apparently it's the worst rated movie of the year.
Ouch.
Really putting Biloxi on the map.
Yeah. I mean, Bad Lieutenant kind of put Biloxi on the map first for us, at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one cemented Biloxi. It was changed once they had to move over to Biloxi to Southern Fury, which makes sense as a title, I guess. But after editing, the studio decided to change the name to Arsenal. And the director had no idea why they changed the name or why it was called Arsenal. And they like started to explain it a little bit in the commentary. And then Jonathan Schaech or whatever his name is got distracted by some kid's shirt and they never talked about it again.
God.
But later on in the commentary, the director theorized that they changed it to Arsenal so it would show up higher in the alphabetical video on demand rankings.
Probably.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Like the stupidest reason.
Like any attempt to recoup the $10 million just to get people to watch it.
Southern Fury, nobody's gonna watch that.
Yeah, I would assume
see.
Southern Fury was like some Civil War reenactment movie or something.
Can we name the movie Aaron? No, I guess that doesn't make sense. Abacus? Ace.
Aardvark.
How about Ace? Aardvark. Aardvark. Arsenal. All right. That sort of works. There's guns in this movie.
Yeah.
Movie was shot in 13 days. As we said, most of these Stephen C. Miller movies are shot very quickly, very run and gun. Which, you know, if you think about it in context of that, it's pretty impressive that they were even able to pull off a movie that was even coherent in 13 days. But out of those 13 days, they had Cage for 1.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Which
okay.
makes
Yeah,
a lot of sense, right?
Yes, that was going to be part of my criticism down the road.
I will say that he worked 24 hours, and they used every second of it. They kept him on set 24 hours straight.
Wow.
And filmed constantly.
No wonder why he phoned that shit in.
Yeah.
God damn.
He and Cusack apparently were both big fans of the fact that they didn't have to wait around and that all of their stuff was just shot right in a row. And, you know, that's because they just wanted the paycheck and to get the fuck out of there. I mean, I'm guessing.
Just work
I'm
really
just guessing.
long, one really long day and
Yep.
nab $1 million or whatever.
Exactly, man.
Yeah.
What I wouldn't do to make $1 million in 24 hours.
Make a movie about that.
As we've talked about in the past, this is technically a sequel to the very forgotten, ultra panned, comically ridiculous 1993 film Deadfall, which if you want to hear all about that, you should go watch our other episode about Deadfall. It is an absolute treat and 1,000 times more interesting and enjoyable than this movie, even though it is also terrible. But at least there are characters that are interesting throughout.
Yeah.
There are no characters that are interesting in this movie whatsoever.
And we don't get that surprise twist at the end with the villain.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Surprise. So Cage basically plays the same character, but his character died in Deadfall.
Well, spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers, sorry. Cage's character dies in Deadfall. And what's weird is like, okay, so they chose 23 years later when they cut between young Eddie King and old Eddie King, who looks exactly like young Eddie King, hasn't aged a day, which is the exact amount of time between Deadfall coming out and this film being filmed in 2016. But Stephen C. Miller had no idea that Deadfall existed when they were making this movie. This was all Nicolas Cage. Cage wanted to change the name of the character to Eddie King, and Stephen C. Miller was like, why? Okay, who cares? All right, sure. Switched the name. He showed up with his wig, his mustache, the glasses, the costumes, all of that stuff. He showed up on set with, and Stephen C. Miller was like, wow, what interesting, weird choices. This character is going to be really great. Had no idea that it was a Deadfall sequel while he was making the movie until the edit. And then he was like, somebody showed him some clips from Deadfall, and he was like, oh, that's what was going on?
He's like, wait, why couldn't he do that in my film?
Why did
I would have
do
given
that?
him some hangers.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple lines that are straight out of Deadfall that Cage does that, as I heard in the commentary, Cage was just essentially coming up with his character on the shoot. And like, there are several points in the movie I'll point out that Cage just came up with that in the moment. So Stephen C. Miller had no idea. No idea whatsoever. And I feel like the only reason that this movie ended up on anybody's radar is because Cage made that choice to basically play the same character again. It was also Cage's choice to cast Christopher Coppola as his brother, who is the director of Deadfall.
And somehow looks like Steven Seagal in this movie.
Yeah, I was going to say, you would never know they were related because he looks like Steven Seagal's knockoff.
So Stephen C. Miller said that he is also playing his same character. And I was like, did you even watch Deadfall? Because Christopher Coppola is not in that movie.
Yeah, he was. He was a random guy in the bar.
Yeah,
No,
remember?
that was
Oh,
the
that
other
was his
Coppola.
other brother.
That's
Oh.
his other brother.
That's right.
Okay.
That was can't remember his name. But
John Coppola.
there are three Coppola brothers.
Well, what he meant was he's playing the
It's assumed that Eddie has a brother.
he's playing the director of Deadfall when he plays Eddie's brother in Arsenal.
pretty much, yeah.
I can't remember his brother's name in the movie, but he took the money and he made a feature film
Buddy.
with it.
His name was Buddy.
buddy.
And that's the character he was playing.
Makes sense. So yeah, so he went off to New Orleans with the movie, the money that he made from Deadfall, which didn't make any money in real life.
No, I mean,
so
he
this
took the
really
money.
is fiction.
He took Eddie's share and used that
okay.
to go film Deadfall, and then that's what he was playing.
Yeah.
My brain hurts.
This is the fourth collaboration for Nick Cage and John Cusack after appearing in Con Air, of course, in 97. Adaptation where Cusack plays himself while they're filming Being John Malkovich, because the guy who wrote Adaptation is a very meta movie. So the guy who wrote Being John Malkovich is the star of the film that Nick Cage is playing. And we'll get to that. And the Frozen Ground, which we'll get to at some point, which is John Cusack is like, I feel like he's really bored, I think. And that's why he keeps like playing these movies where he's like the bad guy. And I just feel like he's so not the bad guy. He's not the heavy character ever. So, but he showed up to this one. This was apparently this costume, this look, his do-rag and backwards hat, all black the whole time, the vape pen, all John Cusack. He came up with all of that. They also had a very limited amount of time with him. I think like 2 days with him. So
Yeah.
like
He's in it a
the
little
star
more
of
than
that.
Eddie, so
Yeah.
I mean, apparently on these super indie films, you just show up with whatever you want the character to be.
Well, you
Sure.
don't say no to those two guys.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
that's true. I'm sure that Grenier and Schaech Screech showed up and they gave them costumes specific to their characters. But Cage, Cusack, let them do whatever the hell they want.
You mentioned like John Cusack looks like he's turning into Nicolas Cage as he gets older, but it's almost in this movie I felt he was like turning into Michael Madsen. Like he just kind of looks the same. And then I was like, oh man, it'd be cool if Michael Madsen was playing this character.
Michael Madsen would have actually brought that gravitas to that character. Right. John Cusack, like maybe it's just because watching all of those movies in the 80s, he's always kind of like more lovable than he should be as a kind of corrupt cop who's obviously like kind of a slimy dickhead.
Yeah.
But he's always got that like kind of, I don't know, John Cusack charm to him, which doesn't work for this character.
No.
And then the final quick fact is the film unites Nick Cage and Jonathan. I mean, it's like, how many times are we going to mispronounce this guy's name? Skeech? Skeet. Who both were in 8mm. And Jonathan Schaech was in 8mm 2. Quick fact, there was an 8mm 2.
16 millimeter?
16
I had
millimeter.
no idea that there was a second one, which maybe I'll have to watch once we do 8mm just to see where they took the story.
Let's break this bitch down. Act 1. Let's set some stuff up.
Arsenal, aka Southern Fury, as it was known at the time of shooting, but the name was changed to cash in on the SEO value of an English soccer team, I guess, because God knows Arsenal makes no sense as a name for this thing. Starts on the muddy banks of God, why am I blanking on the name? Biloxi. God damn it. Sorry. Starts on the muddy banks of Biloxi, Mississippi, where Cameron Poe just arrived on a fishing boat to shoo luring perverts away from his pregnant wife. Wait, no, that was something else. We see Ariana Grande. No, sorry. Adrian Grenier, aka JP, in this sickly yellow tinted glow of the Mississippi sun, cocking a pistol out in the open for some reason, while being blinded by lens flares to the sound of a harmonica blaring on the soundtrack. In a voiceover, we hear him say, "Someone once asked me why I stick up for Mikey. They clearly don't have a brother." Okay. That's when I knew this movie was going to be hot dog shit. Yeah. And I regretted the fact that I ever started this podcast with you guys. He says this while smirking to himself, thinking of the spoilers. Half a dozen people he and his brother are about to murder with zero ramifications whatsoever. But we'll get to that later in the film. As the harmonica continues to blare, we cut to a guy breakdancing on the floor while an iguana crawls nearby Nicolas Cage, who says, "Shoot him again! His soul's still dancing." Oh, wait, no, that was something else. Something way better than this fucking film. We see a young JP walking with his brother Mikey and some other doofus. Mikey gives the doofus like $10 in quarters, promising he'll beat this kid at any game in the arcade while giving his little brother nothing. When JP asks for some quarters, Mikey smacks him in the head and tells him not to cry like a little bitch. Oh, no wonder why these guys love each other so much.
Apparently, at some point, that kid with the long hair, the fat kid, was Sal. So John Cusack's character.
Wait, what? Okay. That's supposed to be Cusack?
And I'm like, Cusack is way older than these guys, so that doesn't make any fucking sense at all.
Did that kid have like blonde hair too?
Yeah.
He's a dirty blonde hair.
Cusack's got like jet black hair in this.
Yeah.
Okay. But then Jonathan Schaech, he said that he thought it was the guy with the cornrows.
Yeah. Oh, that
makes more sense.
That makes way more sense.
Yeah, because that guy's the same age. They've known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
But he also says that we've known each other for 16 years specifically, but it's been 23 years since this scene. So
they didn't even bother to fact check themselves. So,
I mean, honestly, at a certain point, this movie just completely falls apart and they're just like making shit up as they go. It has nothing to do with things that happened previously.
Yep. I totally forgot this kid even existed.
Yeah, me too.
Because he doesn't matter for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, he doesn't matter at all. I don't even know why they were like trying to like rationalize who this person was.
Who fucking knows?
Well, it's not like they could reshoot the scene, so.
Exactly. Yeah.
True.
They said they had these kids for one day, too. So all these scenes were shot in one day.
Mikey and his friend play games while JP watches, but Mikey eventually uses his game tickets to buy his little brother some baseball cards. I'm guessing he uses this same beat him up and then show him you care by buying something trick on the ladies.
Like Chris Brown.
Allegedly. Unfortunately for you and us, this is the guy we're supposed to be rooting for in this movie. This guy, not Chris Brown. We don't root for Chris Brown anymore. I mean, he can dance. He's a good dancer.
You can tell he's good in bed because he's really good.
Oh, God damn it. That's for us. That's just for us. Back home, we see that the brothers live with a fat guy wearing coveralls and a wife beater. The shirt, not that he's a wife beater. But probably, I mean, he probably is.
Probably. I mean, honestly.
Southern Fury.
Got that name somehow.
Yeah. Which is standard issue clothing for the South, and an old lady who might be Leatherface in drag.
Leatherface,
Mrs. like that
Doubtfire.
one shot of her, and then
she's
never mentioned again.
They had her for 5 minutes. And that's it.
She died after that scene. I'm guessing it was like somebody's mom or like the director's mom or something, or grandma.
Whoever owned the
I don't
house they
know.
filmed in.
Yeah, that might be.
Oh yeah, the owners of the house.
They did say that they had like access to like 4 different houses, and it was right after the hurricane, so they were like desperate, and they were like letting them do whatever they wanted in these houses. So every single house is authentic to the people who live in Biloxi.
Felt very
I
authentic.
can see that. Yeah.
Felt
Yeah.
very
It's
authentic.
one thing the movie had going for it.
I think there was maybe a couple of parts where they did some set design, but I feel like for the most part, they just kind of came into these houses, lit them, and then shot.
I mean, lit them. Yeah, they just pretty much shot.
I think that's why the color grading is so atrocious in these movies, because they don't. If they're filming them so fast, they don't have time to adjust for like the daylight and the lighting and all that shit. They're just filming and then they just wash it all over with a single piss filter to make it look coherent.
Careful, that's too close to the Mexico filter. Pissing it up. Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah, JP says he's hungry, so Mikey makes his little brother a TV dinner while going hungry himself. Reminded me of God damn it. Reminded me of that Disney cartoon where Mickey Mouse cuts a bean and a slice of. Reminded me of that Disney cartoon where Mickey Mouse cuts a bean and slices a piece of bread paper thin so he, Donald Duck, and Goofy don't starve to death.
God, I just totally forgot about that one. So they're all flooding back.
On a different day, Mikey comes home from school and is horrified to see someone has spilled raspberry jam all over the walls of their home. Oh, wait, no. The fat guy in coveralls and his wife beater have done so. And the fat guy. God. Oh, and the fat guy in coveralls of white beater has done the unemployment office a huge favor and blowed his head off with a shotgun. There's no sign of what happened to Leatherface, though. She probably just died of a massive heart attack, if I'm being honest. She
Shot her first and then
shot her first.
murder-suicide.
I thought maybe that's what happened, was like he shot her before he shot himself, or
she Kurt Cobain.
2 kids go into foster care. And it explains everything for us, why everything's so fucked up for him.
they just kind of end up living in this house, because this is, if you pay attention later on, this is where Mikey lives. He still lives in that same house.
Yeah.
So I guess they just took care of themselves after this. Not so cool fact. Originally, the story was they were going to have the uncle be a child molester.
Oh my God.
And they were thankfully told not, that's too far. That's too far up. But the uncle was going to be touching Mikey, and that's why Mikey's so messed up.
Oh my God.
But thankfully for all of us, they cut that out of the film. What's that?
God. I'm guessing any protected JP from him or something.
Yes.
And,
Yeah. There's also in the original script, and they actually shot it, Mikey kills himself to protect JP because he knew that JP was going to be killed by Eddie no matter what. So he just took himself out of the equation so that JP wouldn't get hurt, which I guess explains why JP shows up by himself. And why it looks like they shot Mikey's parts in a completely different location, because they did.
Yeah. I wondered. I thought it was just a scheduling thing, because I didn't realize they shot it so quick and had everybody there. So I thought they
did around dailies, and the studio was like, no, you can't do that. You can't just have him shoot himself in the head.
Yeah, then what's the point?
That would have been a better ending. I like that.
Yeah, it would have been. It would have ended the movie like 20 minutes earlier.
Would have made a little bit more sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Because then you have one, spoilers, one brother who kills the other brother, and then the mirror is the 2 brothers that actually care about each other. One kills himself to save the other brother.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't have got those 6 sweet Matrix shots.
That's true.
He hides the scene from JP and sends him to the arcade with a ton of quarters while he deals with the mess. Next scene, we see him eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Hey, man. That's when you go, you don't have much in the pantry. You got to eat.
I mean, you're not going to let it go to waste.
I mean, it's all over the walls.
Yeah.
It's going to dry. It's not going to be any good anymore.
Yeah.
He didn't have dinner the night before, so.
Yeah, he's hungry.
It's true. That's why he sent JP off. He's like, I got to take advantage of this. It did look like it was just chunks of preserves.
Yeah,
going down the wall.
I bet you that's what they use.
Did not look like brain matter.
No, not even a little. At the arcade, JP is having the time of his life playing Duck Hunt or something. Mikey arrives, and instead of joining his brother, he makes his way to Dexter's Kill Room, which seems to be in the back of a strip club that is attached to the arcade as well.
Yeah, it's like they went on the same hallways that are in Willy's Wonderland too. That's all I can think of every time they shot in that nondescript hallway covered in plastic.
He opens the door to see Crocodile.
It's fapping in the corner.
Just fapping in the corner.
Watching Eddie.
Mama.
This apparently, this tells you anything about the South. That strip club was right behind the arcade. 2 locations. That's a real strip club, and that's a real arcade. And they are attached to each other.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Oh man,
that's too perfect. And that does, I mean, what? Yeah,
gotta protect kids from drag shows.
Exactly.
We see walls covered in plastic, and for some reason there are speakers attached to the walls playing gospel music. Suddenly, this is how you know it's Sunday. It's still gotta go to church. Suddenly, a character that has been dead for 24 years at the time of making this film shows up. Yeah, just gloss over that. That's right. Eddie King from Deadfall is in this movie for some reason. We see him giving some guy a hi fucking yeah with a baseball bat. He sports the same bad wig and mustache from Deadfall, but sadly has decidedly less personality. His quirky mannerisms or whatever else was interesting about him whatsoever just don't exist in this movie.
Gone, yeah. He only has that like one moment of being real Eddie King.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wonder if now that we know that the director didn't know what the fuck happened, didn't know what Deadfall was, I wonder if he tried to do more and the guy was like, stop being so weird. Just do
yeah.
probably
exactly.
down.
Probably.
And Nick Cage just didn't bother to tell him what he was doing.
Yeah.
I think that he and Chris Coppola had this idea of like, let's put a bookend on that chapter in our lives. And let's just, this shitty little movie they're making that they're paying me scale for or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring Eddie King back out from the dead and you and I can have some screen time together.
Yeah, it was probably an inside joke between the two of them. They're just not going to say anything.
Yeah,
They're just going to play Eddie and Eddie's brother.
100%. He and a couple bald henchmen beat up a guy strapped to a chair for a bit while Mikey watches from around a corner. And I guess JP watches Mikey from a different corner.
And then Crocodile watches from the third corner.
Crocodile watches from the overhang.
It just was like, why was it necessary for JP to be watching Mikey in that?
I don't know.
It was like Mikey watching Eddie, JP watching Mikey.
Yeah, I get Mikey watching Eddie because he's going there looking for him, but then I don't understand why JP has to watch Mikey because he later tells him he's working for Eddie. So I don't understand why they needed to have that. It was just stupid, just dumb. Eddie makes the guy bite down on his pipe, which is way less sexy than you'd think. And rather than ask, "Who sent you, baby girl?" he blows cigarette smoke into the pipe and then hits the dude with a bat in agonizing slow-mo. You better get used to that. Which presumably kills the guy, I guess, is what we're supposed to take from that.
I mean, I don't see how you live through that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely not eating any solid food after that. And he spots Mikey in the hall.
Sucking on any pipes after that. That's for sure.
That's the last pipe he sucked on. Eddie spots Mikey in the hall who books it, but Eddie cuts him off before he can get away. Eddie asks what he saw, and when Mikey says nothing, Eddie says the guy whose head he just Aaron judged a pipe through didn't stay quiet, so he'd better keep his mouth shut about whatever he saw.
And that's the last we see of Eddie King for about 45 minutes, I feel like.
We cut to a sweaty, gross version of The Sandlot where Mikey roots on his little brother. After the game on the bleachers, Mikey tells JP that he has to go work for Eddie King full time, but he wants JP to keep his nose clean and to stay away from the arcade. Then he gives his little brother a job mowing grass. We cut 2 years later and find out JP grew up to be Forrest Gump. Mikey always said life was like a box of chocolates. We see a caption that thank God tells us it's 23 years later, and JP is now a successful owner of a construction company. He tells the guy who works for him to hug it out, bitch, and apply himself.
It's the only Entourage reference I can really make because I never watched Entourage. I just know that hug it out, bitch. But I think that was Arnie or what's his name from The Family Man?
Yeah,
Jeremy Piven.
Yeah, his character's thing. Yeah, I didn't watch that show either. All I know is
neither did I.
That Ariana Grande was Aquaman or some shit in that show.
Yeah.
JP's partner, Rob, shows up and tells him they're behind on a job just because some of the guys have been texting. Goddamn texters. Not doing construction stuff. Come on.
Oh, man. But they work so hard at construction jobs.
We're 3 days behind because guys have been texting.
They've been texting. That's a lot of texting. JP tells him
Spending too much time at the arcade strip club and not enough time on the job site.
JP tells him to act like a boss and to throw their phones on the ground like a boss. And then everything goes into slow motion again. JP heads to the same baseball field we saw from 23 years earlier, / the last scene, to meet up with the now old meathead version of his brother. JP says he's ready to beat his ass. And then he just throws the ball to his brother very poorly, who apparently has been standing at home plate with a bat waiting for him for like hours, it seemed like.
So like their game is to, like, he pitches to his brother,
right?
But the idea is like it's referenced a few times of like they play this game where he's actually trying to strike him out or something. I don't know, and his brother like always is the batter, and he's always the pitcher.
I think it's a metaphor.
Yeah. That's what I was saying.
I think this goes back to the whole child molestation thing they cut out.
Mm-hmm.
And he throws poorly. Like not like they couldn't even do justice of like cutting to make it look like he's throwing really well.
I guess Adrian Grenier was really worried that he was going to look like a doofus throwing the ball, and he was right. He was right to be worried about that.
Mikey hits the ball out of the park and says, "Slamma jamma, ding dong, baby." You know, as you do.
Channeling Eddie King.
Yeah. It would sound way better coming out of Eddie King's
something
mouth.
Eddie King would say.
That's what he should have said when he was bashing that guy's teeth in. They down a couple beers and JP offers his brother a job, saying that he knows it's been tough since Mikey got out of jail, but Mikey turns him down out of pride and bails after one sip of his beer. We see Mikey in a rusted out pickup with a gun by his side. He heads to a pawn shop where the guy behind the counter sports an arsenal, get it? Like the movie, of weapons. I bet those will come into play later in the film. Oh wait, no, they don't.
It's just another verisimilitude of small town America.
Yeah, pawn shops full of
pawn shop.
Every pawn shop, yeah.
Yeah, hundreds of guns.
Mm-hmm.
Mikey does his best to sell a flash grenade, but is insulted when the guy offers him $600 for it. He tells the guy to take his $600, buy a gold dildo, and stick it up his ass and leaves. Since he didn't sell it, I bet he uses that flash grenade in the final fight with Eddie King after he unleashes his arsenal. Oh wait, no, he doesn't. Not at all.
Yep.
At JP's, we see he has a nice life with a wife and a kid in suburbia, but he seems upset when he can't quiet his baby girl.
Pretty sure it's a boy.
They apparently had 30 minutes with that baby, by the way. Every scene where you see that baby was shot within 30 minutes.
That makes sense.
Yeah, for child labor laws and stuff.
They're shooting 13 days.
Yeah.
Well, he either acquires his baby daughter or baby boy. We don't know because we weren't paying attention, unlike Nigel. Then we cut to Mikey loading a gun in his house. He puts the gun to his head and prepares to join his uncle wife beater. God damn it. And prepares to join his uncle wife beater. But before he can coat his walls with raspberry jam, we cut away.
It's on the same couch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same couch.
It is actually. Also,
It's
we
lit
see that-
nicer.
Why'd they keep the couch?
I mean, you're not going to throw it. It's a good couch. Just rug doctor it.
Those things stay in the families for generations.
Just rug doctor it.
Also, we see that Mikey is still living in the house where their uncle blew his brains out for some reason. In the movie reality, I'm assuming he inherited it, but in real reality, I'm guessing they just didn't have the budget for another location.
Yep.
We see JP loading a cooler into his truck, but he's interrupted by John Cusack in a do-rag and a pair of aviators. Wait. John Cusack was in this? Why? Cusack's character Sal says he can't join in on whatever activities they had planned for the day since he fucked up his wrist, which I guess a circle jerk has ruined.
They never say what they're gonna do. Like I think it was implied that it had something to do with the baseball game, but
Yeah, it seems
the
to be-
baseball
that's
game
all
is like
everybody does.
at night, and this was like in the morning.
In the morning, and why does your wrist being messed up stop you from going to a baseball game?
Exactly. I fucked up my wrist. Yeah, just say something, John. You'll pull up and you'll just make an excuse to leave.
Just make
To
something
not
up.
be in the next scene. 'cause
Yeah,
we
maybe that's
can't
what it
afford
was.
you.
It's really like he didn't want to do it anymore. It's just like it was him telling the film crew that he fucked his wrist up and didn't want to film anymore that day.
I don't want to film.
I can't film anymore.
This movie sucks. He's just giving me my paycheck.
Sal, who I guess is some sort of plainclothes officer who wears all black and has eyeliner on in every scene, tells JP that Mikey bought a package of drugs, alluding that he intends to sell it. Sal says he's not going to bust him, but he wants JP to confront him before he gets himself killed. We cut to the brothers at a minor league baseball game where we find out Mikey didn't end up killing himself, but he gets into a fight 5 seconds after arriving with some dude in the stands. He punches the guy in the face, and after he insults JP's wife, who I guess wasn't available to be on set that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, he like says something to her, but we never show her.
You never see her. Yeah. At Mikey's, he's woken up by someone breaking into his house. We see him head to the bedroom where he pulls a hatchet out of the closet. Then he sneaks up on the guy in the living room and says, "You want to fuck? We fuck now." You know, stuff he learned from Eddie. And cuts the dude on the arm. They fight for a bit, and eventually another guy comes in with a gun demanding to know where Mikey hid the coke.
Doesn't Mikey have guns?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why does he go
put
after
the
this
one to
guy
his
with an
head.
axe?
I don't know. So
Yeah,
that
'cause-
character can get the jump on him, I
Yeah,
guess.
exactly. Yeah.
That's all I
It's the
can
only
think in
reason,
the scene.
yeah.
Like, we just saw him at the pawn shop, and I think he talked about how he has guns and stuff to sell.
We just saw him almost
saw him-
shoot himself
yeah.
on his couch.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
a gun.
But it decides to go after the guy with a hatchet.
Be
Sexier.
stealth, I guess.
Be
Yeah.
stealth. Mikey says the coke is in the fridge, which the guy thinks is a joke. So they bash him in the face, but it turns out the cocaine is actually in the fridge.
So like something out of the Big Lebowski.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Money Lebowski.
Obviously, you're not
It's
a
in the
coke
fridge.
guy.
Yeah, obviously you're not a coke guy. Not much of a coke guy.
Hey, Woo, I think we got the wrong guy here. Isn't this guy supposed to be into coke?
I mean, he does throw the guy's head in the toilet later. So
He does.
He does. They take the drugs and leave, but Mikey recognizes the car they're driving. Because, of course, you know,
everybody
Small
knows
town.
everybody.
everybody knows everybody. It's the South. It's the South. He heads straight to their place and bashes one of the dudes with a baseball bat before Lebowskiing the guy's head in a toilet.
I had a quick fact about that guy. He was actually an Olympic swimmer.
Ironic.
Guess they just hired a guy who could hold his breath for a long time to dunk in the toilet.
Eventually, the guy says some guy named CJ Cloute told them to steal the drugs from him so Mikey wouldn't step on his turf, since he's the resident drug dealer, I guess. Okay. Remember that name because his character turns out to be a big part of this story. Oh, wait, never mind. He's never mentioned again at all. Neither is the Coke.
Yeah.
I mean, the Coke is mentioned when John Cusack and
oh, that's right,
Adrian Grenier recap the entire scene for 20 minutes.
That's right.
Later on.
I blacked that out. Over at JP's, we see Mikey's daughter and his ex-wife, who is nice and redneck trashy.
Redneck chic.
She yells at Mikey about giving her child support money while his daughter buries her head in the phone. JP's wife doesn't seem to be a fan of the Jerry Springer episode happening in their living room and asks why Mikey's ex, and really Mikey's family in general, has to be there for the 4th of July. And JP explains it's the only way Mikey can see his daughter.
Yeah, she's not a fan, it seems like.
Yeah.
Can you
Apparently, neither are the courts. They don't allow Mikey to have unsupervised meals with his daughter.
Unsupervised, yeah. Who's like 19.
Yeah, he's supposed to be in high
15.
school.
Yeah.
Supposed to be.
She's like somebody in her 20s playing
a
16-year-old.
Yeah, she's like 28. JP says they're harmless 2 seconds before Mikey says to his ex,
"You know, if I could get away with killing you, I would."
That's lovely, honey.
Kind of reminds me a lot of my childhood. The memories.
Stuff my dad used to say to my mom.
It's just like every 4th of July I had as a kid.
Then we hear a fire detector going off, and JP's wife grabs a pot off the stove with her bare hands. By the way, that pot has nothing in it. I'm sure you guys saw that. And there's no smoke.
Nope.
And the oven isn't
boil
even
a pot
on.
of water or something to have some steam to make it look like.
Didn't have the budget.
Nope.
Water's expensive, man.
Water's expensive. Smoke's expensive.
Whoever owned the house was like, "There's no fucking way you're using any of my appliances to do anything."
Outside, Mikey has a talk with his daughter about school and such before asking her to come stay with him for a while, like 10 seconds after calling her mom a whore. She can't, though, because she's really busy. Those TikToks just aren't going to make themselves. And boy, do we fucking know that, mainly Patrick. We cut to a fireworks celebration at the baseball stadium they were at earlier, then back to the family in the backyard. So I guess we're supposed to infer that they went to that celebration or something.
They had the fireworks shots from the baseball game, and they were going to use them no matter what.
Yeah.
True.
They said they had 2 days at that baseball stadium. One was just them filming the game. And then the second one was they had them and a bunch of extras for the in-crowd scenes where it was empty. But I assume because you see them have like a walk-off victory in the game, and I think those fireworks were because of the team winning the game. But they filmed them and were like, let's set this at 4th of July.
Right. Why else would they be having a barbecue and hanging out together?
And those the fireworks that are in the backyard are CG.
They looked fake.
I love that they have Mikey and JP meet each other like in the hallway at the baseball stadium. Like two people could just find each other like
in a crowded stadium.
Yeah, they're like, "Hey, you made it!" Like who meets in the corridor, surrounded by everybody walking into the game.
Yeah,
I mean it's minor league baseball or something. You saw the crowd. There's not very many people there.
Yes.
There is in the close-ups, not in the real shots.
In the real shots, yeah.
There's like hardly
the most
anybody.
expensive scene that they had to make because they had to have all those extras.
Yeah. Well, the argument continues between Mikey and Trailer Trash, but JP diffuses the situation by recalling a story about seeing a crazy homeless guy preaching on a street corner when he was about 5 years old. He said the preacher kept saying stuff like, "He loves you. He'd do anything for you. He'd die for you, etc. You know, all that bullshit. And JP asks the guy how he knew his brother, which shocks Mikey, since in reality, he seems like an absolute pile of shit of a human being.
Yeah, I didn't get that. Like, JP not remember when Mikey slapped the shit out of him for asking for some quarters?
And clearly he was talking
Doesn't
about
seem
Mad
like the
Dog.
brother
He's
who
a
would
good
die
man.
for you. Yeah.
He
Good man.
kept him from seeing a head being blown off.
Kind of.
So he's a really good guy.
Yeah.
After dinner, JP confronts Mikey about the drugs Sal told him about, and it turns out he bought the drugs with money JP gave him. Mikey says he needs money so he tried to take his $10,000 and turn it into $20,000, but he lost it all. Mikey says he's a fuck up of a man and a father, and says he's not perfect like Mr. Entourage over here. Mikey says JP has a perfect business, perfect wife, perfect life, and says he'll never ask for money again, and leaves to go fuck his life up some more. Now, I know what you're thinking. I stand Act 1, and we've only seen Nick Cage in one scene. What is all this family drama bullshit? Well, it's clearly an homage to Deadfall. 1, because Nick Cage was only in 2 acts of that movie, and 2, the movie is terrible. So that's another homage.
Act 2. Let's get some motivation up in this thing.
Here we go. You guys ready to recap everything we've already seen?
Hell
Here
yeah.
we go. We cut to a seedy bar where Mikey bumps into a man who literally hasn't aged a day in 23 years. It's almost like it was just later in the day of that shoot. We see Eddie and his goons having drinks, and unfortunately, there are no strippers around to make Eddie suck on a beer bottle like a baby desperate for milk. Mommy. And there's no black guy in a vest to throw him out. Would have been better if he just got thrown out of the movie. He invites Mikey to take a seat and says that somehow Mikey still owes him some money for a job he didn't come through on years earlier. He lists off all the things he's done for Mikey, including getting him laid at 14, which must have been traumatic. I mean, that mustache looks scratchy. Plus, we've seen what it looks like when Eddie humps a bed. He's not a gentle lover. That's all I'm saying.
No.
Eddie snorts some coke, as you know, that's all he does. It's his whole character. And he asks about JP. He says he read something about him in the paper, I guess. It says, "Look at Mr. Entrepreneur," all of a sudden. Then he says Mikey was practically a father to JP, and JP hasn't done shit for him, from his perspective anyway. I love that he actually says that. Like,
Yeah.
it's like a line some like beginning scriptwriter kid would write.
Yeah.
High school scriptwriter.
Mm-hmm.
From my
Tell,
perspective,
don't show.
anyway. Yeah, exactly. Eddie says he knows a way Mikey and he can both get what they deserve. He and Mikey together. 6 figures each, which piques Mikey's interests. There's supposed to be a misdirect here that like Mikey might be in on it, but I didn't feel it at all.
No.
And even the director was asking Jonathan Schaech whether or not his wife, when she watched it, thought that the misdirect was like well done, and he was kind of like, I don't know.
He's like, she never watched it, so I can't tell you.
Yeah. She said,
Apparently
"Stop
she
talking
was
about work with
forced
me."
to go to the premiere of
Oh,
this.
God. They're still
Well, at
married?
least she probably got to meet Nicolas Cage.
Oh, yeah,
Nope.
touche.
Oh.
I really doubt that John Cusack or Nick Cage were at that.
Yeah, true.
At least she got to meet the guy from Entourage.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Is that? She knows the guy from That Thing You Do, you know? Like the only thing I've ever seen him in. We cut to JP where he gets a call from Megatron.
Hello.
Jamie Lindell.
Yep.
Who tells him he has 4 days to deliver $350,000 in cash or his brother dies. Then the phone cuts out and we hear that Decepticon noise. You know the one. Whatever that is. JP thinks it's a joke at first, but quickly realizes it's not. So he runs out of the house and heads to Mikey's house, where he gets no answer when he knocks. He calls Vicky, Mikey's redneck PBRX, to see if she's heard from him. Then over to do-rag sporting John Cusack's house. Sal, John Cusack, tells him to just wait it out. And Mikey will probably just show up from a bender and wonders if it was actually Mikey on the phone fucking with him.
Yeah.
I'm glad everyone is worried about this guy they think so highly of.
Mm-hmm.
None of them had brothers.
Clearly, it was Jigsaw on the phone.
Jigsaw. Would have been a better movie.
Play a game. JP heads to his construction office where he asks his partner, Rob, how much money he can get his hands on in a few days, to which Rob says like 10 grand rather than 350,000.
Only if those guys weren't texting so much.
Exactly. Business has gone to hell. He tells Rob to start liquidating everything. Take out loans, etc., to get the money together, and he just kind of agrees to do it, even though it'll surely ruin the business, their lives, probably have to put up their houses, just going to ruin every bit of their lives. So, you know, whatever. But Mikey's worth it. It's Mikey.
Yeah, it's yeah, I'm sure JP's business partner really cares.
I know.
He should have just told him Mikey was in danger, and the guy would have cut him a check from his own life savings.
Nah, fuck that. Fuck that guy.
I mean, that guy punched me in the face 5 minutes after I met him, so. Then he tried to sell me Coke. Then he showed me his flash grenade.
Yeah.
He showed you his dick? No, he had a real flash grenade.
Oh, like a real flash grenade.
Oh, like a real one. It was impressive.
That flash, they said that the flash grenade was worth like $6,000 or some shit.
Yeah, right.
Which I guess that was a real flash grenade, by the way, that they just happened to have had. The guys who were working on the show never fucking comes up again. I mean, it comes up again here in a second, but then it's never used because that would have cost money. So.
Yeah. No, it's there. It's in the case. That's what explodes at the end.
Oh,
it was Chekhov's flashbang.
How do you think about that?
You just put it was a bomb, but it's actually the flashbang.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. That takes care of one of my Coppola questions. Next, we see Sal and JP by an overpass, where Sal tells JP to talk to a Travis Bickle-looking undercover cop who has connections in the underground. We recap the whole buying drugs, getting it stolen crap from the first act, and they tell the cop about some guy named Rusty. So he says he'll go check it out. Oh, I know that ginger bitch.
Because we really need another character.
He's got a special
character.
I'm guessing that Rusty was the other guy who was stealing the coke, who like had the mask on. I don't know. I don't care. Back at Mikey's, Sal and JP find the crate he kept the axe in, while a crackhead breaks into the house. Ryder really has a high opinion of Biloxi.
That was unscripted. That was an actual crackhead breaking into the house.
Sal
I feel like it was like they just like shit. We need to have some action here.
Yeah,
just go grab somebody walking by and ask if they want to be in the movie for 5 minutes.
Crack? Yeah, I'll be in
some
there
random
for crack.
guy to come be a crackhead.
Can you guys buy me some crack?
I was gonna come here to steal crack, so this might work out.
Usually this house has crack in it. Now it has a film crew. What the hell? Sal tells JP to be careful with the flashbang grenade. And it's revealed that Sal gave it to him so that Mikey could sell it.
Wasn't Sal worried about Mikey stealing coke and selling that and like trying to turn his life around, like worried about him going down a dark path, and he's the one stealing shit.
Maybe he was like, I have this thing and I'm not going to do anything with it. Maybe you can sell it because obviously you
need the money.
Fucking loser who's never going to make anything of your life. They hear the crackhead in the other room, and JP gets the jump on Jesus Meth Christ. Pins him down on a coffee table, and Sal pulls a gun on him. JP interrogates sweaty McColdsore and finds out he only broke in to steal food. So that whole scene was completely pointless. No reason for him to be there whatsoever. I guess just to add tension. Mm-hmm. And I guess Mikey's place is just a revolving door for the people of this charming neighborhood.
Yeah.
Come right in.
It's like, I don't know, just drag the movie out while we're watching these guys piece together everything we've already seen. Just add some action into it.
They had no second act, so they, like Patrick said, they just rehashed the first act.
Yeah.
It literally is just 30 minutes of them rehashing 15 minutes of the first act.
Yep.
Sal tells Junkie Jesus to leave and says whoever kidnapped Mikey isn't going to come back to the house looking for him. There's just so little substance to this movie. Like, nothing much really happens. 70% of the scenes just seem to be to pad out the runtime. I mean, there's like nothing going on. Back home, JP gets a letter in his mailbox with a Polaroid of his brother beat up in a chair with the words 3 days written on it. He gets a call from Do-Rag Cusack, who says the undercover cop they talked to found Rusty and is convinced that he's not involved in the kidnapping. JP's not convinced, so let's get you convinced. Like, God damn it. Could have just left it at that.
Now we got to watch him. Go talk to him.
JP and Sal go talk to him, and for some reason, he recognizes JP and books it, the Rusty guy. He like, as soon as he like opens the door, he sees John Cusack, and he's like not concerned, and then he opens the door a little bit more and sees JP, and he's like, oh fuck, and he just runs for it, like, because he stole drugs from Mikey. He recognizes his little brother, like he knows him.
I mean, they look exactly the same, so yeah.
You know, Jonathan Skeet said that they do, that they, like, we both look very similar. And I was like, what fucking world do you guys look similar?
He's like 10 feet taller.
Yeah.
Why does he react that way? Why did he react to JP?
Tension.
Just to shoehorn a fucking chase scene into this fucking drivel. And then again, who cares? JP chases Rusty through some yards, then through some people's houses like Ferris Bueller style, while the camera guy has a seizure for a bit. And eventually they hop into their respective cars. After a thrilling lens flare seasickness-inducing car chase through the mean streets of Biloxi, Rusty just kind of pulls into a parking spot. That's how the chase ends. He's just like pulls into a parking spot.
Oh, fuck.
JP, then he brings him back to his own house, I guess, because John Cusack's character was still there.
No, because John Cusack was still there.
Yeah, he's still outside
exactly.
the day.
Yeah.
Rusty tells them he took the coke, but he had nothing to do with Mikey's kidnapping. Also, he admits to a murder that he did 6 years earlier. But I guess that's way less important than finding Mikey.
Right. Yeah, Sal seems really nonplussed about it.
He's just like, oh, who cares?
We all killed somebody.
I don't care about that. That was 6 years ago, dude.
6 years ago, I was trying to get some alcohol from some guy on a bank of a river, and I just kind of bashed his head in.
What's in the bag?
He was my wife got the cancer.
Joe. That was a reference to Joe. I know. I want our audience to have an
we should-
encyclopedia.
We should throw that in there every time we make a reference. Just so people know.
Encyclopedia level knowledge of Nick Cage movies like we do. Rusty also says he saw Mikey at the Biloxi bar, which is the most generic name you could have possibly come up with. That probably is what that bar actually is named, given what we've seen so far in this movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, what are the odds that Rusty saw Mikey?
It's crazy. It's a good thing they chased him down.
I mean, he was the only person at that bar besides that skank who tried to pick up on him.
Yeah.
And Mike and Eddie's posse, of course.
Yeah.
How convenient that Rusty was there, even though Rusty is like scared of Mikey because he just stole his drugs from him. And JP and Sal head to that bar, and a waitress refuses to ID Mikey for some reason, but rolls on Eddie King, a notorious, feared mobster-like figure, just right away. No worry about that. I guess Mikey, because Mikey's a good guy. She didn't want to roll on him being there.
Right.
Wouldn't she know that JP's his brother, though? Because they look so much alike?
I mean, everybody knows everybody, right?
Yeah.
We cut to Sal and JP chatting with the undercover cop again, and he says he doesn't think Eddie had anything to do with the kidnapping. Like we said, it's like watching Adrian Grenier and John Cusack retell the first act of the movie in real time, but somehow even more boring the second time around. I mean, I just don't think they had a second act.
Nope.
No.
Undercover cop guy says there's no real mob in the swamp. Tell that to that whoa guy from Bad Lieutenant. But
That
he
wasn't a
says
mob.
Eddie,
He was a real. His uncle was what? Real estate baron or something.
yeah,
Contract
I mean,
developer.
kind of. He was like the closest thing to the mob, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kind of the same thing, I guess.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
that guy was Eddie King. His
Yeah.
uncle,
His uncle was Eddie King. Yeah.
Interesting. Plot twist.
same age. But he says Eddie King, the guy who was coked out of his mind and boiled like an onion ring by a character so boring they had to throw a guy with a claw into the story to keep it interesting, is the closest thing to the mafia. He says Eddie has ties to New Orleans and New York. Tiebacks to Bad Lieutenant.
Yeah.
At no point did they mention any details whatsoever that would make us think that he was in fact the same character from Deadfall, which was based in LA, aside from the director of the movie saying he is 100% playing the same character when asked on Twitter. So again, I have to ask why? Why is he in this movie? Why would they put this character into this boring crime drama and not actually tie it back to Deadfall? But I guess we know. We know now because the director had no idea that that's what he was doing with this movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Never even questioned it.
Can you just imagine like this guy's all excited to work? He gets Nick Cage to be in one of the movies that he's directing. And then Nick Cage shows up and acts like this. And he's just like, I can't. I can't tell him to stop acting like a drunk weirdo. Like, it's Nick Cage. He knows what he's doing, I guess. But he's like how disappointed he was.
While he's editing, he's
this
like,
is the performance you get out of Nick Cage.
He just made a sequel within my movie to a crappy movie that nobody likes in the first place.
If you were a true fan, he would have been like, yeah, I get it.
I want to know what the
More
conversation was like when he found out. Like, who was it that was watching him?
I think it was the editor.
And was like, this. I didn't know you were making a Deadfall sequel. And he was like, what's Deadfall?
What the fuck is Deadfall?
Peter Fonda?
Peter Fonda was in it?
I forgot he was in that.
Charlie Sheen was in this. What?
Charlie Sheen? What the fuck?
Why have I never heard of this movie? Oh, because it's fucking terrible.
The tall man?
That's why.
What's
Isn't
going
that,
on?
isn't that Kyle Reese?
Angus Scrim?
Angus Scrim is in this.
I'm pretty sure in 2016 that clip existed on YouTube of Nick Cage freaking out.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like 70% Eddie King or Eddie from. He didn't have the last name in Deadfall. It's just Eddie. So,
No, he did. He had a last name. They call him Eddie King.
oh, do they?
Yeah, at one point.
I looked it up on IMDb and it was only listed as Eddie.
Really?
The credits,
I
so I wasn't sure.
swear.
I swear that they said it
swear
in the
they say
movie,
Eddie
but the
King at
character
some point.
name was just Eddie,
Eddie,
I think.
yeah.
But
Okay.
I'm positive that in the movie they say Eddie
All right.
King. But we called him Eddie King
Okay.
In the
when we
film,
were doing
yeah.
Deadfall.
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Unless you planted that seed in our head when you talked about Arsenal.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yep.
Could be. Somebody do the time and go back and look because we're not going to. Someone do us a paper. Put it in the
I'm not
password.
watching Deadfall again. Just to
I'm
see.
never watching Deadfall ever again.
And we're not watching our review of Deadfall again either.
We're definitely never watching Arsenal ever again. Undercover cop tells eyeliner sporting hoodie and do-rag wearing Sal that he thinks it's a stretch that Eddie King is involved since he's too connected, and this is too risky unless Mikey and Eddie are in cahoots to steal money from JP. Or because Eddie is jealous of JP and Mikey's amazing brotherly bond. We find out later that's apparently what this all hinges on. Why not? JP says his deadbeat loser brother would never do that. An undercover cop guy asks how the kidnapper knew exactly how much JP was worth. Not a bad point. Sal tells JP the cops aren't going to help track down his fuck up of a brother and essentially tells JP they're going to have to take the law in their own hands. Seems like a really good cop. Just give some guy some fucking flash grenade.
Doesn't arrest the guy who bought coke.
Doesn't arrest the guy who admitted to a
somebody.
murder.
Yeah. taking the law into his own hands.
Yeah. He does tell him not to go after Eddie at the end, but that was just because John Cusack couldn't be bothered to show up to the shoot that day, I guess.
Yeah.
Then he takes him to an arsenal of guns for the final battle. Oh, wait. There is no arsenal. That's right. JP chats with Mikey's ex, and she says she's worried about their daughter and tells him she's been hanging out with some punk kids. Sal then gives JP a picture of the exact kid Mikey's daughter was hanging out with earlier and says he's the best shot of finding Eddie. How? Why? Who is this kid?
Yeah, I don't know.
Up and coming.
How the hell is he related to Eddie King?
He works for him.
How?
brother.
Eddie
We
takes
never
on
mentioned
kids
it.
to work. Yeah. Now they did. They just did.
Yeah, they just did.
Roll with it.
Don't think. Just
I mean,
watch.
for a movie that tells us every single unnecessary detail, they sure glossed over that one. But whatever. We cut to Eddie doing what he does best, snorting coke in a strip club. But I guess they didn't have the budget for strippers.
No, sadly.
No strippers in the background ever. This was an actual operating strip club, and people were actually like at the door trying to get in while they were filming. So they're like, "Why is it closed?" It's like that guy at the mall. Why are you closed?
Yeah, why are you
Where
closed?
are the strippers? Tell us why the strippers are here.
We would like to see strippers.
One of his henchmen tells him that Buddy's here, and I shit you not, Buddy is Christopher fucking Coppola, Nicolas Cage's brother and the director of Deadfall. Again, it's like I can't believe that was the explanation. Like when I heard that on the commentary, I was like, oh, of course that's the explanation. That's why none of this ties to Deadfall at all. Nick Cage just kind of fucking did whatever he wanted.
So also, like, it had to have been Nick Cage's idea to bring his brother to play Buddy.
It was, yeah.
So he shows up for a day to film. And again, neither one of them even hint to the director that this is a sequel to a movie that they both made in the past.
Yeah. Apparently the director was like, I didn't even know Christopher Coppola could act. And then he showed up and he was like, oh, he can't. All right.
I thought you were going to say, I didn't even know it was Christopher Coppola. Nick Cage said he was
I
some
saw
guy to play
Steven
his brother.
Seagal walk in and I thought, what the fuck?
How How did we get Steven Seagal back from Russia?
Why is his hair not dripping onto his face? Allegedly.
Anyways, Buddy is Eddie's brother in this reality, and Eddie's not stoked to see him. They really do not look alike at all. Chris Coppola and
I didn't even
Cage.
know that was Chris Coppola until I read it a little bit later. So yeah, they don't look at all like each other.
Yeah. Outside, Buddy is waiting in a Cadillac, and when Eddie asks him why he's not in New Orleans, he says,
I'm not feeling too peachy keen being in Biloxi, Mississippi.
he's just trying to outdo his brother in the weird as hell delivery department, I guess. Fucking weird.
Runs in the jeans.
He's got like 3 lines, and he says them all weird as hell for some reason. He tells Eddie to get in the car while eating a pecan. So he says,
Here, have a pecan.
and they take off into the night. Eddie gets worried, and Buddy reassures him by saying, we gotta be home real soon, mommy. We gotta be home real soon.
Oh my God.
We cut to Mikey's daughter, Alexis, hanging out with that dude who is inexplicably the link to Eddie King. When she refuses to smoke weed with the guy, he throws her up against a wall and slaps her around a bit. You know, that weed to get that reefer madness. Thankfully, JP shows up in the nick of time and slow-mo walks uncomfortably slow into the room. Before beating up the guy a bit and leaving with Alexis. So again, I have to ask, what was that guy's link to Eddie? And like John Cusack says, this is his hang. Like when he hands him the picture, like there's on the backside of the picture, it's like a note of like where he hangs out. But that was literally, it was just like some random motel room that they were hanging out in.
Yeah.
I don't understand the connection between...
I just figured he works for him just like Mikey worked for Eddie when he was a teenager. So just keeping that cycle.
I can see that. Buddy takes Eddie to another Dexter-style kill room where there's gospel music playing on the boombox. It's just a family tradition, I guess. Apparently, the director said that they like started with pop 80s music was originally the direction.
What?
Just would be hilarious. Come in and see him like fucking beating a guy with a bat to "Never Gonna Give You Up."
Like that or the Willy's Wonderland theme song.
It's your birthday and we want you to have fun.
Willy's Wonderland.
Buddy asks, "Why'd you do this to us, Eddie?" in a horrible delivery. Then says he knows all about the kidnapping and I guess the crime only a cop wearing eyeliner and a small-time construction guy know about is enough for him to kill his own brother.
Over $350,000 too.
$350,000.
That's my favorite part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
That's like such a small amount of money.
It's like $1 million in the South, dude.
It's so fucking hilarious when later on he's like, well, it's just 200. We'll call it even.
Yeah, I love that too.
Eddie says no one gives a shit about this guy, which is almost true. There's 2 people who care a lot for some reason. So it's not a big deal. And Buddy tells him to turn around and look at the rabbits so he can shoot him. He basically is like, yeah. Eddie says, turn around? What? So you can fuck me first? He again tries to explain the situation and how he's going to get $350,000 in 48 hours time from JP. Then 53 minutes into this piece of shit, Nick Cage finally goes full Eddie King. He does the thing he did in the fucking hangers scene from Deadfall and says, fuck you. Then, for some reason, Christopher Coppola switches to a Savannah accent for some reason. He says,
Mr. Kuchar, we're finished here.
but before Mr. Kuchar can come into the room, Eddie's goon with the cornrows and the gold teeth shows up and shoots this guy, Christopher Coppola's guy in the head. It's just mob on mob violence, man. Which allows Eddie to get the jump on his brother and say, I'm gonna try to kill my man! Hold it right from Deadfall. Which, like, originally when I saw this movie, I thought, before hearing that context of what actually happened for them to have this character in this movie, I thought that the writers specifically told him to be Eddie King from Deadfall. And Nick Cage was like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
But
that's what I thought was the case.
He finally just gave them what they wanted in this scene and did a little bit of Eddie King. But it turns out that he didn't even do Eddie King.
Yeah.
He didn't even like try to do that character.
Well, it's not even that. Like, it turns out it was his idea to be Eddie King, but then not play Eddie King.
Yes.
For some reason.
Play a bland, shitty version of that character.
He didn't even play Eddie King in the flashback, which would have, or the beginning of the movie, which would have been the Eddie King that we saw in Deadfall. So.
And why? Never mind. I don't care. How is Eddie King both in Los Angeles and in Biloxi, Mississippi at the same time?
He faked his own death.
By boiling his
by
face.
a fry machine. Yeah. And then
getting dumped into a fucking oil refinery.
Yeah.
He just put on a Freddy Krueger mask when he got dipped in the
hey, at least they kept the continuity of him wearing a terrible wig.
That's true. Yeah. He beats his brother to death in ultra slow-mo with blood flying everywhere. Raspberry jam just coating the walls and the boombox. It's neat and stupid as hell at the same time.
Just like monkey claw hands he's doing.
Yeah. Apparently that all came from Cage. So we can blame everything that Eddie King does directly on Nicolas Cage. You know, we've said it many times. Like, he swings for the fences every time out. Sometimes he hits home run. A lot of times he strikes out. He's always swinging as hard as he can.
Yeah.
So this is one of those instances where he struck out. We see Mikey tied up to a chair, and he has a flashback to the conversation we saw him having earlier with Eddie at the bar, but we actually fill in the details. He tells Eddie that JP is a good person, and there's no amount of money in the world he'd take to fuck over his kid brother. So he says, fuck you, Eddie. And I guess he didn't take kindly to that. So we beat him up and tied him to a chair for the next 4 hours of this movie.
You want to fuck? You want to fuck?
Eddie has a good little freak out and then kind of sobs to himself when Mikey won't come back to work with him.
You owe me! You owe me! I raised you! You got no respect, no appreciation for your roots! Mikey, it's no risk, it's 6 feet. Mikey!
Why would you come work with me? He tells his guys to go get him, and after a fight, they knock him out, throw him in the trunk, and tie him to a chair. The white guy with cornrows and gold teeth says he feels bad since he's known Mikey for a long time, but then he just beats him with a pair of brass knuckles anyway to send a message to JP that he better pay up, I guess. It's another fun scene of super slow-mo punches, blood flying, and adds absolutely nothing to the movie aside from it looks neat. You could say to describe like 85% of the scenes in this movie.
Yeah.
Actually, most of those don't look neat either.
Act 3. Time to resolve some shit.
All right, you guys ready for the thrilling conclusion? All right, here we go. JP and his partner, his business partner, not Sal, his partner, crunch the numbers and try to raise the $350,000 that Eddie asked for.
That's why he's wearing that eyeliner. It hasn't washed off yet.
That's why his wrist was all fucked up, too. JP
says,
wrist, man. You know why.
You know.
JP says Mikey put the lawnmower in his hand, so I guess that led to him being a rich construction guy, so he owes him everything. Seems like a stretch, but whatever. Like, he got him a summer job as a 12-year-old, and he owes him his entire life.
That's how he became rich, man, mowing those lawns.
He says Mikey didn't have a big brother, so JP has to look after him like Mikey did for him. JP notices something on the computer which makes Rob nervous. Rob says he needs a few more days, and JP grabs him by the collar and says, "Did you do something with my money?" It's a pretty one-sided partnership. It's more like he's his boss, not really his partner.
Yeah.
Rob explains that he put the company's money into a fixer-upper in Gert Town, which on Google Maps looks like the same neighborhood of New Orleans that Bad Lieutenant found 5 dead bodies in. So how did he, I mean, I guess he brokered a deal to buy a house in less than a day. Like, he just was
I think it was something that he had been doing behind the scenes that he didn't tell the guy who apparently has all the money for this operation.
I didn't talk about this before.
As he says, like, you know, that's like, would that be embezzling or fraud? Stealing from the company? I don't know.
I mean, as long as he's using it as a business expense. He's trying to. He doesn't know that they're doing anything shady, so he just buys a house to fix up, and then they can make money off that.
Yeah, he's trying to flip a house.
JP didn't really tell him. You know, I guess he did tell him we need the money fast. So I don't know why Rob decides to buy a fixer-upper to flip the house in 2 days.
I'm guessing that it was something he had done quite a while earlier.
So he was trying to use it like, well, I did this.
But like, honestly, how much could a fixer-upper in Katrina-destroyed neighborhood of New Orleans really have cost him? Maybe $50,000?
Yeah. Probably just go to the bank and get a quick loan about that and not even bat an eye.
Not in Biloxi.
You to fix that shit up.
Everybody's got a 500 credit score in Biloxi, Mississippi.
Well, he has a company, so he could hopefully use the company as collateral. Anyway, JP loses it, slams Rob against the filing cabinet, and says if he doesn't get the money by tomorrow, Rob's going to go to prison. JP seems like a really poor judge of character and a poorly written character. Yeah, I don't know. Poor Rob. JP's like, give me all this fucking money. And you're going to go to prison if you don't do it. I don't know. We cut to Eddie snorting coke, still covered in blood. Wait, so when is this in relation to the scene that just happened? Because that was set during the daytime. Eddie killed Buddy at night, and now he's with Mikey in the murder room, and he's still covered in blood. And it seems like it's dark out, but it's kind of hard to tell because it's
hard to tell.
So, Eddie says Mikey is lucky since he'll find out tomorrow when they do the exchange for the cash how much his little brother actually loves him. Eddie says he had a brother once and that he was just writing him a letter in the car. Then he decides to read Mikey the letter so he can make suggestions about how to be a good brother.
This was all written by Nick Cage and came up with this on the day.
I believe it.
Well, that explains the reference in it.
Yes, 100%.
That, like, literally Nick Cage would understand, and that's it.
Yeah.
Eddie's letter goes like this. Dear Buddy, sorry about today, but you know you were always the creature from the War of the Gargantuas when it came to me. Trying to imitate his delivery.
But you know you always were the creature from War of the Gargantuas when it came to me.
For those who are lost, The War of the Gargantuas is a 1966 Japanese monster movie where two giant hairy humanoid monsters fight in Tokyo. You still lost? You see, the green monster is evil, but they made a clone of it that's brown, but this one is gentle, and eventually they battle each other to death inside of a volcano. You still lost? I can't help you.
That movie is apparently like a cult classic, and like Tarantino loves it.
Of course he does.
And Nick
Of
Cage.
course he does. And
It's got
Nick Cage.
giant human feet in it. Allegedly.
Oh my god. Giant kaiju feet. It's Tarantino's wet dream.
It's just another one of 9,000 of those goddamn kaiju movies. So
You're right. Like, why that one?
Well, that one, I guess, is better than the others. And also, like, okay, so he's the good one, the gentle good one.
Yeah,
Eddie is.
Well, yeah.
The guy who fucking bashed a pipe through some guy's skull in the first scene of the movie.
Gently.
Or Eddie thinks that he's the good one and his brother's the
That's what I'm
evil
saying.
one.
It's-
Yeah, but
he's.
Eddie, yeah. Or it was the other way. Like Eddie always idolized his brother and always thought he was the good one, even though and he was the monster. I don't know. Because like obviously he loves his brother, but he also hates him.
Yeah.
I don't
I mean,
know.
I think he, as he alludes to in a second here,
This scene is like the only bit of emotional core that the movie has, maybe. But it comes out of nowhere. And you're like, what? This is what we're supposed to care about right now?
came out of nowhere because Nick Cage literally just came up with it out of nowhere and inserted it into someone else's movie. And they were like, sure, whatever. I don't give a fuck. I got paid. I don't care. Move on.
Eddie sobs and screams as he continues to read his letter, revealing that he was busted as a teen and he refused to roll on his brother. He did 3 years in jail while his brother stole his share of robbing cars, I think, moved to Florida and set up a business in New Orleans with Eddie's cut, which I guess he's still a little sore about to this day. Probably because he had to move to Biloxi, Mississippi and set up his shitty operation out of the back of an arcade where his big score is $350,000.
But it's the
slash
memories.
200,000. It's the memories. So his brother moved to Florida, but set up a business in New Orleans. But from a screenwriting standpoint, why not just say he moved to New Orleans rather than just putting that pointless and confusing detail in the same sentence? Like as he's telling him, he moved to Florida and set up business in New Orleans. I don't know.
You moved to Florida.
But I guess it's
Set
not a
up a business
screenwriter
in
that
New
put it.
Orleans.
Nick Cage wrote it. So
Apparently, yeah.
maybe it made sense to him to set up in a different state to avoid the heat.
Well, they don't. You have
Yes.
to pay state taxes in Florida.
He also says that he lives in New Orleans now. It's like weird to see you outside of the Big Easy. Like,
Yeah. So Florida has nothing to do with anything.
Florida has nothing to do with anything. just makes it more confusing.
Maybe Nick Cage thinks New Orleans is in Florida, despite having been there to film at least one movie.
Or Eddie.
I was filming in Florida.
Yeah, maybe he thinks Eddie's stupid, doesn't realize that can explain it. He asked Mikey if the letter's any good and if he should send it, but then he says,
Well, I can't send it because they fucking killed him today, all right?
then he says he hates Mikey and JP both because they had each other. I watched the scene again last night so I could remember his delivery of stuff. So the whole movie all of a sudden is jealousy of these two idiot brothers. Like that's the whole plot now. The whole crux of it is that he hates these brothers and always has, even though he talked about earlier he thought of Mikey as a son because he looked after him and raised him or gave him a job or whatever.
Yeah. Guessing in the original screenplay, that's how it went. And then Nick Cage just decided to change things.
Winged it in this scene. Yeah. Maybe he looked at it and was like, "This fucking all right.
This doesn't make any sense.
I'm going to inject some drama into this, some character into this character." Then he finishes his sweaty rant by saying, "What am I, a fucking retard, man?" and storms off. The next morning,
It's so much better.
Yeah.
What am I, a fucking retard, man? Am I a fucking retard? Oh!
yeah, like why isn't that the scene where he adds a little more Eddie King to it? You know, just go a little more Eddie. He's coming unhinged. That's what makes Eddie the best in Deadfall when he's like unhinged at the end.
Yeah.
The next morning, I guess, JP meets with Rob, who is now in a neck brace. JP asks if he did that to him, and he says, "No, I did it. for you. Then he tosses JP a bag of money, which is such good writing. Can't understand how this didn't win any awards.
No, I did it for you.
What was the line that I sent you guys that I just now remembered? Said, "Are you sure you're doing the right thing?" No, I don't. That was two different. That was the line that somebody says to. Somebody says it to JP at some point. I can't remember. I think it's Sal or somebody says.
I think Sal. Yeah.
Are you sure you're doing the right thing? And JP says, "No, I don't."
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even like they're cut together. Like they're in this. They're sitting in the same shot, and that's the dialogue that gets used.
13 days.
Yeah. Mikey, whatever the fuck his real human name is, Skeech. He said that all of his close-ups they had to film on a different day when he's interacting with Nick Cage because they didn't have time to do his coverage. So
maybe that's why they're extreme close-ups.
Yeah.
They're right up against his face most of the time.
So I'm guessing there was a lot of that probably with John Cusack's stuff. Like he probably wasn't actually in the same room.
You see Mikey try to sweet talk Luca, cornrows gold teeth guy, into telling him if he knows if Eddie is planning to kill both he and JP, even if he gets the money. And Luca sort of confirms it, I guess. Eddie, still covered head to toe in blood, since I'm guessing this was Nick Cage's one day on set and he didn't want to change or clean up, calls JP to tell him where to make the drop. But JP asks to hear Mikey's voice, so Eddie says he'll call him back. Mikey asks God for help getting out of this situation, and suddenly he managed to pull a screw out of his chair so he can cut himself free. Just one shitty cliche after another. You ever try to pull a screw out of a wood chair?
Yeah, you just unscrew it, you know?
Yeah, it's not that hard.
Eddie walks in and tells Mikey about a kid who drank Drano and says, burned up his esophagus. Started gagging. Puked up black blood and bits of his stomach. Cool story. It's even cooler with the added sound effects from Nick Cage.
Oh, that's my favorite of anything he does.
Gollum hiss at him.
You hear about that little boy in Jackson? Yeah, his genius parents poured Drano in an old soda pop bottle, and the boy found it, drank it. Guess what happened to him? Burned his esophagus. Started gagging. Puked up black blood and bits of his stomach.
He tells Mickey if he says anything stupid on the phone with JP, he'll pour the whole bottle of Drano down his throat. Whatever. I guess that's a Nick Cage-ism that whole thing was. I don't know. Threatening with
whatever
something.
it is, but I loved it. It's the only Eddie King moment that's really good.
On the phone, Mikey tells JP to just pay Eddie, and when all this is over, they'll go play some video games on him. Eddie calls him a pussy for liking video games, and JP figures out something is wrong since his asshole abusive brother he's desperately trying to save never gave him money to play video games, except this one time when his uncle painted the walls of their house with chunks of his brain. That's what they were trying to go with, right? Like,
yeah.
Mikey was trying to tip off JP that if he tries to show up, something bad's going to happen to him, just like he paid his brother to go play at the arcade while he cleaned up his dead uncle's brains or something. But to me, it was more like he was telling JP that they're at the arcade. Like, that's what I thought. That's where to come find him, because I can't remember how they figure out where Mikey's being held. It just seemed like
they just come up with it on the
to
spot.
me, that's what I thought he was going with, and then the script says otherwise. It says it's about this other convoluted thing.
And it takes him an hour from now to get to the arcade.
Right.
But he just magically knows exactly
and
where he
Eddie's
is.
so stupid he doesn't realize that that's what he could have been saying. Like, to me, it sounded like he was like, I'm at the arcade.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, remember that time we went to the arcade as kids?
You're such a pussy for liking video games. Anyway, see you later.
Yeah. Don't try to find me. He tells Sal he thinks something bad is going to happen, like they're going to kill him anyways, and to stay away. What kind of leap in logic did he have to get from let's go play video games on me to his uncle killing himself? That's what we just said. What? Sal says, fucking A, they're going to kill you both. So I guess he agrees and just also figured it out. Like that didn't cross his mind before. Reminds me of Benjamin Gates solving clues in National Treasure by magically linking things that don't have anything to do with each other and being 100% right about everything all the time. Mikey cuts himself free of the chair with the screw God allowed him to pull out, and he runs down the plastic-covered murder hallway. Cornrow's guy walks in and is shocked to see him, and they fight for a bit before Luca bashes Mikey upside the head with his gun. Luca calls Eddie to tell him Mikey got loose, but he knocked him out, and it seems fine despite being stabbed over and over again with the long screw. He even says he stabbed me, but he's not covered in blood or stab wounds or anything.
Nope,
He just
nothing. Yeah.
He then ties him back up.
Good.
So it was all utterly pointless. Just back to where we started in that scene.
I mean, I think this was the scene where Mikey was supposed to have killed himself, but the studio was like, that's too dark. Go reshoot it.
All right, so he goes and then
they just tie him back up again.
Yeah, that makes sense. JP gets a call from Eddie who tells him to drop the money off in a briefcase, pick up a phone from a Wendy's bag, and he'll tell him where to go next. So he's making a dead drop. Dead drop.
Yeah.
He says if he thinks the cops are following him, they'll fucking shoot him. JP asks to talk to Mikey one more time, but Eddie refuses. But it was nice of Eddie to finally wash his face and put on some clean clothes, though. Almost like they filmed this stuff first and then did the stuff later. Eddie strangles Cornrow's gold teeth guy for almost letting $350,000 walk out of the door, but Eddie decides to raise the stakes for no good reason. Just because, I guess. I think he's mad that Mikey had the audacity to try and escape.
Yeah.
So Eddie tells his goons to kidnap Mikey's daughter. Bring her to where Mikey is again tied to a chair, and the Cornrows guys tells him, look what you made me do. Mikey says he's a dead man, and Luca drags her out by her hair.
Never see her again until the last scene.
Cornrows guy shows up at JP's and tells him Eddie King wants to talk, and he reveals that he has his brother. So, what the fuck was the point of disguising his voice and giving JP the runaround with the money when we all had to sit through?
Things have got it out of hand, man.
He just goes completely mask off now.
Fucking 10 seconds earlier, it was like, drop the money and pick up a phone in a Wendy's bag.
Right. And then he sends him directly to him to just tell him, hey, it's me. It's Eddie. Eddie has you. Give him the money. Or Eddie has his brother. 13 days. He says,
should have just called the movie that. That would have been way higher in the search rankings because numbers come first. Yeah. 13 days. What do you expect? That's what that should have been the subtitle.
Name of it. He says Eddie wants to have lunch with him, and Sal warns him not to kill Eddie in a public place because he'll get life in prison. Sure.
I mean,
but then he tells him not to kill him in anywhere later on.
We cut to Ronnie's barbecue where Eddie is waiting for him. Eddie tells JP he needs to take this opportunity to free his brother, and he owes it to Mikey for making sure that JP stayed on track. So there's that weird thing about like he owes Mikey for his good life that he built for himself by not being a fuck up. Eddie says Mikey owes him his life since he made Mikey and Mikey made JP and he begat Enoch and he begat Methuselah and so on and so on. He says since JP is rich, he owes Eddie some sort of tribute since he's somehow inadvertently responsible for JP doing well in his life because he had nothing to do with him.
You put the mower in his hand, dude.
Yeah, well, that was Mikey.
And Mikey worked for Eddie, which took him away from mowing.
Right.
So,
yeah.
There you go.
JP says, you want me to just hand over $350,000? And Eddie says,
200 and we'll call it even.
He's a great negotiator. Look, man, what do you got? Can you buy me lunch at least? I mean, we'll just call it good there. Get me some brisket.
Can we get some burnt ends too?
Then Eddie asks. Then Eddie asks JP if he knows the secret to making a great Bloody Mary. What the hell does this movie even mean at this point? Like, it's supposed to be like you got to add the right ingredients.
Yeah,
just like Eddie is adding the right ingredients to this kidnapping plot on the fly that he's changing constantly.
Yeah.
So he goes to the trouble of kidnapping a girl and then asks for less money. Just whatever you got, man.
200 and no call it even.
Can I just have your truck? We'll call it good.
I just really need something to haul stuff with. My brother ran all of that part of the business.
Right. Isn't Eddie going to get killed now by his brother's people? Like,
you would think, but I guess, you kill the head and the rest die.
He just takes over, I guess.
Like a vampire.
Eddie says you got to have the right amount of Worcestershire and the right amount of celery. And then he pulls out some Visine and asks if JP has seen his niece lately. He tells JP,
I hate this movie so much.
He tells JP he better look into where she is, and in the next 30 minutes is JP and Sal slowly piecing together that she's missing based on a scene we already fucking saw. Oh wait, they already did that with the entire second act. Then Eddie says Alexis is a little trashy for his tastes, a little young. No, actually, she's a good age. Steer clear of that joke. I've said it enough times. He says he'll be back at the Bones Billiards tonight, which I'm guessing is a little nod to Deadfall, which is somehow a better film than this, despite also being utterly terrible.
Also, he's not at a billiards place when they go and meet him later on.
Yeah.
And he says to go ask for Luca at the back door, but this ends up being it's like a public strip club. So what's the difference between killing him here and killing him at the fucking barbecue place?
Yeah. Well,
but nobody works at the strip club.
Everyone knows that.
Yeah, nobody goes to strip clubs. So they were pounding down the door to get into the actual strip club while they were filming this piece of shit.
Yeah, and they were probably there filming at 9 a.m.
I bet you that strip club made more money that day than this movie made total.
From John Cusack.
Allegedly.
Just from John Cusack. I got a way to spend the money I made for this movie.
That's why his wrist didn't work.
Yeah.
He would do his
used
shift.
it up the night before.
I want to see that movie. It's just John Cusack actually just finishes the movie and goes to work at the strip club later that night. I got a job as a DJ.
Pays more in this film.
Just wore my outfit from my job as the DJ at the stripper to my movie.
My big vape was a huge hit.
Moonlighting as a DJ at a strip club while filming a piece of trash. Got to pay the bills somehow, man.
Those better off dead residuals aren't cutting it
gross
anymore,
point
man.
blank ones. Chest drying up. He tells JP to ask for Luca at the back door and to make sure to bring money, and he'll take him to a weird Bond villain with a pair of kitchen shears for an arm. Next, we see Dr. Lime telling him to never cross the line, JP. Never cross the line. Would have made for a way better film than what's actually coming. JP races home in his truck while the cameraman has another seizure. He confirms that Alexis is missing. Jesus Christ, I was joking. We're actually going to follow him, piece together that Eddie was right about her being abducted, aren't we? We see that Mikey's ex has OD'd on some pills after she was sent Polaroids of her daughter tied up with the caption, "Talk and she dies." Well, so why not add more unnecessary bullshit to the story? I'm surprised they didn't have her OD on PBR. JP
Zonked
carries
out of my mind, JP.
JP carries her to his house rather than like the hospital and forces her to throw up some clam chowder or something. JP grabs the bag of money he was given earlier, and his wife says, let's just blow dodge since Eddie will be coming for them next. But again, I think Eddie is probably just going to get killed by Buddy's goons, so they may not have to worry about anything. But
yeah, you would think.
So we're just done with this whole garbled voice money drop part of the film. Did they forget that was happening and they had to wrap up this piece of shit?
Oh, yeah.
Fuck.
That must have been a realization in the edit. Like, oh, fuck. Oh, yeah. Forgot.
Just chalk it up to everybody in the story being an idiot. And it works. JP
and every actor in the movie just coming up with their own dialogue on the spot.
JP says he's not running since this is their home. Katrina didn't run them out, neither will Eddie King. This movie has just turned into utter nonsense, so we're supposed to now care about this emotional horror of them defending their shithole. Sorry. I'm sure parts of Biloxi are great, but yeah, this movie doesn't really paint a great picture.
The stadium and that casino across the street, I think, are the only good parts.
Nice spots, yeah.
Sal tells JP he's out of his mind since he's going to go kill Eddie, and says JP will have to kill at least 3 to 4 guys just to get to Eddie. And JP says, you're right. Thanks for everything. Script writing.
Doing the right thing? No, I don't know.
I don't.
Are you sure you're doing
I
the
think
right
that's
thing?
where this comes from.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Sure you're doing the right thing? No, I don't. Next, we see JP loading up an arsenal of weapons. No, wait, he just goes back to his office and pulls one gun out of a safe. Arsenal, the movie. We see the first scene of the movie again because it was so amazing the first time around of JP standing by some docks, cocking his gun out in the open in a place he has no reason to be standing. But hey, it looks great, I guess. Suddenly, a fisherman throws some money at his face and tells him to buy he and his buddy some beer. While Powers Booth narrates for some reason. Yeah, see, you know, some people never had a brother.
That would have been great. Powers Booth back from the dead.
He was still alive in 2017, wasn't he?
Was he?
Yeah, I don't think he died until like 2020 or something.
Mm.
JP
COVID.
heads to the arcade he and his brother frequented as kids and finds his brother completely unguarded in seconds flat in the most obvious place in the world they'd be hiding him. So why didn't he just go there in the first fucking place? Maybe he thought it was too stupid even for Eddie to just keep him at the one place everybody knows Eddie operates out of.
Knows. I've literally seen him doing this in this place.
He unties his... Maybe that's why they changed it so where Eddie wasn't trying, or Mikey wasn't trying to tip JP off about the location of the arcade with that video games reference, because he would have already, it would have been too stupid. I don't know.
I don't know.
Too convenient. He unties his brother and they both agree the only way to save Alexis and themselves is to go kill Eddie and his goons. Mikey says, look, I tried to protect you from all this. And JP responds with,
It's my turn to protect you, big bro.
I don't know what's worse. That line, the delivery, or the fact that they're staring into each other's eyes while they're uncomfortably close to kissing.
Fuck me. Why? Fucking hey, dude. Time to
JP
protect
says-
you, big bro. Fuck you.
Time to start a sex sandwich. Brother. No, so that's a different weirdo brother.
If that guy showed up, it would have been awesome.
JP, you're my only hope.
Face Off, by the way. It's
and
whatever.
Con Air earlier with the
Yeah.
What is it? Pollux Troy. Castor and Pollux.
Yeah.
Anyway, JP says,
It's my turn to protect you, big bro.
and then he waves him goodbye with his pinky. JP says, we're going to kill those motherfuckers, and gives Mikey his gun. As they walk through the hallway of the arcade, which was completely unguarded 5 seconds ago, a guy pops out with a gun, and Mikey suffocates the guy with some of the plastic on the wall and then breaks the guy's neck. Didn't he just give him a gun? Again, what's his aversion to using guns in this movie?
Stealth, bro. Plus, they don't have the budget.
Yeah, they didn't have the budget for the squibs or the CG blood splatter that they use. They used it all up in the finale. I guess JP.
The guy who Jonathan Schaech is real method, and he almost actually suffocated that guy, and the director had to tell him to stop. Wow, like really was holding on to the guy, and the guy was like panicked, freaking out.
Acting in its finest, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, what is this, a James Cameron movie? The Abyss, by the way. Suffocated his actors. Yeah. Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
Not even allegedly.
No, allegedly.
I'm just saying that so James Cameron doesn't sue us.
Yeah, because he would, allegedly.
I guess JP was just in the can for that scene. Like, where the hell was that other guy from? Like, did Mikey and JP leave separately despite just being in the same room with only one way in and out?
Yeah, the nervous shits.
Down a single hallway.
30 days.
We cut to JP delivering the money to Eddie, who is surrounded by a handful of goons. But worry not, he's got his own arsenal in that case. No, it just turns out it was the flashbang in the case. And also JP's money. So why would he blow up all of his own money? Like, if you know that they're going to open the case anyway to check for the money, and you're going to put a bomb in it, why would you put the money in the case?
It was Monopoly money.
He, I guess, had to make sure it was the same weight as the money.
Yeah.
You could just cut up some phone books or something. And nope, put your own money in there.
Yeah.
Put your own real money. Have to make it look believable.
Mm-hmm. The flashbang explodes and JP's kid's inheritance goes flying in a ridiculously slow-mo for the next 5 minutes or so. And then JP stops a guy from shooting him with a shotgun by pulling out a gun and shooting the guy in the head. Wait. So JP wasn't even frisked before meeting with a guy who is basically the closest thing to the mob, who knows this guy hates his guts and is obviously has every reason to want him dead, right? Eddie's stupid, so I guess that kind of tracks. Yeah. Also, isn't this a public place like the barbecue joint? What's the difference between killing him at the billiards place and then killing him at the restaurant?
It's indoors, man.
Yeah. I swear it was all the same set. Like I couldn't even tell the difference of what place was where.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a strip club and not a billiards place.
Yeah.
They said that it was at a billiards place.
Yeah, which is probably the same set they used for the Biloxi bar earlier on.
Yeah. Same set they used for the billiards place in Deadfall.
Yeah.
Oh, that was way too high budget.
Yeah.
Right.
Or actual billiards.
And that also
tables.
had a crime lord operating out of the back of it in a black room.
Yep. He likes to lick diamonds for some reason.
It has an espresso machine.
Espresso.
Just give me an espresso machine. We'll call it even.
Always grind the beans, JP.
Never buy pre-ground.
Eddie would just snort espresso grounds.
I feel like we've written a way better movie just on the side. We're talking about this piece of crap.
Oh, all right. Next, JP shoots a guy with the shotgun he just grabbed, which sends the guy flying in more ridiculous slow-mo, which culminates in the guy getting shot in the nuts. Scene guest directed by those kids who did all the effects on Dog Eat Dog. JP cocks a shotgun in stupid slow-mo, then jumps in stupid slow-mo. Then Mikey walks into the place in stupid slow-mo and shoots Cornrow's guy. I guess they're just done being friends now at this point. He just straight up kills him.
He said he'd shoot him. Yeah, he said he'd kill him.
That's right. You're fucking dead because he shook his daughter. That's right. Then another dude, he shoots another dude in the mouth, which we see in, you guessed it, stupid slow-mo. JP blows Cornrow's guy's head off in slow-mo. Jesus, fuck. Just let this end. It's like they're dragging it out even more when you get to the finale.
Every shot is like 30 seconds long.
Eddie shoots at Mikey at point blank range, but I guess he needed more Visine because he misses with every shot except for one which hits him in the leg somehow, despite aiming at his head. Mikey falls to the ground and magically has time to give his little brother a nod, who gives him a nod back from across the room, and they shoot Eddie in stupid slow-mo. Eddie falls from the shot for the next 12 minutes as blood shoots out of his chest, and then he utters the final words, "You filthy double-crossing little fucking filthy double-crossing filthy fucking goddamn fucking filthy little rat!" Actually, he says, "Hey," and JP shoots him with a shotgun, which I guess has unlimited ammo.
That was his big final line in the
thrilling
movie.
line.
God damn.
We cut to some time in the future.
No,
where
I don't.
Oh, God.
That's the one-liner that he offs him with. No, I don't.
Hey. No, I don't.
Oh, my God.
Oh, fuck.
We cut to sometime in the future where everything is just fucking hunky-dory and the whole family has a nice barbecue with Sal, who is busy chewing on a toothpick while sporting aviators and a do-rag, wearing all black, like he does in every other scene in this completely phoned in of a mortgage payment of a performance from John Cusack. And they all drink Coronas and have a barbecue in the backyard and talk about family.
Family.
Alexis and her mom, who don't seem to have any PTSD issues from being kidnapped and overdosing on pills, respectively, ask where Mikey is, and JP says, "Yeah, where's that chump?" Like but he knows where he is. He just didn't show up to the barbecue for some reason. Because then JP heads to the baseball field that these quadruple murderers like to hang out at, and he finds Mikey playing with a quarter on the bleachers we saw them at in like 11 other scenes already. Mikey gives JP the quarter and says, "I never told you how proud I am of you."
Big bro. Little bro.
Bro. I guess he feels comfortable finally saying that after all these years, now that he's made his kid brother into a murderer. Brought him into the life of crime that he tried to keep JP out of his entire life. Then they play baseball.
JP is pretty comfortable with being a murderer and shooting people. And
yeah. Well, apparently they got away with it.
Been a part of it.
Yeah, they're bad guys, dude.
Dad Sal, he covered it all up.
Yeah, that's right. Forget about it, Jake. It's Biloxi. God, I should have said that. Forget it, JP. It's Biloxi. Well, then they play baseball while I think a dog humps the camera or something. The end.
Oh, goddamn. What a fucking pile of shit.
Oh, fuck.
I guess they according to the commentary, the train started coming and they were like, just go, we'll film it, because they wanted that train running through. And then they got lucky and JP hit a home run.
Hit the ball.
Yeah, actually hit the ball out. And they were supposed to, this was supposed to happen while the credits were rolling over the top of it, but they, it was so fucking good with that home run.
It's wicked.
They had to leave it in the film while the dog just kept humping the camera there.
It's wicked good.
I could just see like the cinematographer like trying to set the camera up properly while they're trying to film, but like trying to get it in the right shot. While the camera's
just
moving.
Just film. There's a train. I couldn't possibly wait for another one.
God.
I haven't even put it on a tripod. It's on the ground. What do you want me to do? Leave it.
It's like making
somehow
movies
it's
in
a
your
fitting
backyard.
final shot for this movie.
It is.
It's just
utter
weird.
garbage. Nonsensical garbage.
You know, if you really dive into this movie, as we were unfortunately forced to do, it becomes clear that JP is obviously the more put-together brother. I mean, he took a lawn care job Mikey literally handed him and turned it into a full-fledged construction business, raking in so much money that even crime boss Eddie King wanted a piece. But what if I told you the secret to JP's success is that he had the good sense to set himself apart from the competition by building a website using Bluehost. Bluehost is so easy to use that even someone like JP's brother Mikey could use it. Well, maybe not. But you can. And the good news is your domain is free for a full year once you purchase web hosting for as low as $2.49 a month. And if you can't find someone smart like JP's buddy Sal to help set up your website exactly the way you want it, you can call in the experts at Bluehost to help. Build the website of your dreams by heading over to bluehost.com. Getting started is easy. Just use your phone to open the QR code on your screen or click on the link in the description. Not only are you getting an incredible deal on web hosting and powerful tools to build your website, but you'll also get a free domain for a year. By the way, I finally looked it up, and the guy who played Mikey, his last name is pronounced Schaech. Schaech. You know where I learned that? From a website, probably hosted by Bluehost.
We have a Coppola questions before we move on.
Couple of questions here. First of all, why the fuck is it called Arsenal?
Yeah, that's my only question, really.
That's my only question.
Which we've answered now, I guess.
a million times.
My theory was that it was an intentional nod to Deadfall, since the name of that movie had nothing to do with that movie whatsoever either.
My working theory was that an earlier version of the script had Mikey collecting an arsenal of weapons to sell at the pawn shop, but by the time they got to filming it, all they had was that flashbang, and that was all they had the budget for it, so he didn't really have an arsenal.
But it turns out that they
It was stupid.
literally just changed the name so it would come up earlier on video on demand. Just the dumbest fucking reason possible. God damn it. Hey, let's just find a word that starts with A that's vaguely close to something that happens in this movie.
I thought it was also maybe to bury it in the search option results, because if you search for Arsenal film, you'll just find a bunch of
Yeah, you just
documentaries
find the
about
English.
Arsenal, the football club. So it's actually really hard to search for information about it. So, because it's like, Arsenal budget. Oh, okay, well, it's going to be shit about the football club.
I think Arsenal is like one of the most valuable sports teams on the planet. And one of, despite us being in America, from America, soccer, which everybody else in the world calls football, is easily the most popular sport, and the most valuable franchises on the planet are all football clubs, not, American football clubs, like real football clubs. Our sport doesn't make any sense to be called football, is all I'm saying.
They kick it.
They kick it
Twice.
sometimes.
Although the word soccer does come from English.
Does it?
English. Yeah. They called people who belonged to football associations soccers because of a link to association, a soccer, or whatever. They called them soccers.
I thought maybe it was like sock the ball. They sock the ball with
the
their feet.
abbreviation for, I guess it would be like ASSOC period would be like a sock was the abbreviation for association. And so people who belonged to one were soccers. And that's where the word came from.
You see, you learn all sorts of things on this show.
So anytime somebody gives you shit for calling American football and don't use your foot, be like, well, the word soccer came from the British, so fuck off.
I guess my biggest question is, why the fuck did Nicolas Cage do this movie? Why? Paycheck?
Apparently to be Eddie King again.
just to fuck with some director who had only done movies that were all direct to video. And play a character that he just wanted to play again but not well.
He really wanted to work with that Full Sail University alumnus. I guess. I graduated from Full Sail, so I can tell you it's a terrible school.
Worse than DeVry?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't go to DeVry, so I don't know.
Are you still accredited?
First-hand information that what?
Is that school still accredited? Full Sail?
Yeah.
Then it can't be worse.
Yeah. He didn't go to Art Institute of whatever.
Of Seattle or whatever. Yeah.
Art Institute
whatever
of
one got
Biloxi.
shuttered.
Why did
also, the reason why Nick Cage worked on, I don't know, he likes working on indie films. It's probably a hella easy paycheck. So
it's 24 hours of straight shooting.
And again, you could probably just do whatever he wanted, as we saw.
Clearly can.
So.
He wrote half of his own lines, came up with his character completely.
I would think as an actor, it might be fun every once in a while to do shitty movies that no one's ever going to see anyway. It's not like anybody's going to hold Arsenal over his head when they talk about the oeuvre of Nicolas Cage.
We've talked about it before that he got into massive debt, and that's why he was doing 6-7 movies a year for the 2010s until early 2020. So I don't know, man. This was bad. This was a really bad choice. I mean, there are a lot of bad choices in there. Oh. We've seen many of them so far. But this one was like, oof.
I wonder if his agent just had instructions to at least this much with at least this much shooting time and any movie
yes
in that sweet spot, just say yes and I'll do it.
Yeah. It's like that College Humor sketch. I'll do it. Why is John Cusack in this movie? Why would John Cusack agree to do this movie? Same reason, yeah. Funny.
I mean, he probably they had him for like 2 days or something like that.
Yeah, like 2.
So he worked a little harder. Hopefully, he got paid a little bit more than Nick Cage.
I'm guessing he probably got paid about half as much as Cage.
Yeah.
Because they could only afford to have Cage for a day. They could afford to have Cusack for 2 days.
So maybe he wanted to work with Cage again, but they were never in the same place.
Never in the same spot. Yeah.
He was already there, moonlighting as the DJ at the strip club. So why not?
Yeah, he was already working
a few extra shekels.
Might as well.
Why did he choose to wear a do-rag?
That was
people don't.
My next question: why does he have eyeliner and a do-rag in every scene?
I don't know, but it was going through a phase.
I think he was trying to go for he was an undercover cop too.
But he's so conspicuous.
But he stuck out like a
white guy with eyeliner and a do-rag in the middle of Mississippi.
A giant ass vape.
It's a 50-something-year-old man.
Hey, cool kids. I'm a fellow student here at the school.
At least the guy who was an undercover cop they meet looked like he was just some scumbag druggie.
Yeah.
He looked strong.
I felt like he stuck out as an undercover cop too. Like he felt pretty obvious as well. Why? I mean, we've answered this, but if you really, really think about it, why did Cage choose to take a character from 1993 from a movie that nobody's heard of, a character that died in that movie, and plop him in the middle of this piece of shit, and then choose to take away everything fun about his character?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe he was really hoping for that Eddie King redemption story and realized that the movie was shit, so he didn't bother trying.
Yeah, it could be.
Who knows?
Maybe he wanted to play a more serious version of that character.
Yeah. Like a guy who could potentially be a mob boss instead of an unhinged loon.
Yeah.
Some goon that he was in Deadfall.
Goofy as fuck character that just would not have been able to get into that life in the first place.
Right.
I don't think there's really a good answer for that. It's just Cage making a choice that just doesn't really make any sense. I don't know what the hell it had to have been something where it was like, hey, I'm gonna show up on set and I'm gonna be the character from Deadfall. Isn't that cool, Chris?
Yeah,
you should be in the movie too.
Joke between the two of them, and then that was. Yeah.
It'll be hilarious if we can get this guy to cast us both in this movie.
You should dress up as Steven Seagal.
Steven Seagal, dude.
It'd be hilarious, bro.
fucking hilarious.
No, say it like this. Pika.
Yeah, do you think
Say Mr. Kucha.
Do you think Nick gives his brother acting
Yes.
lessons, like to coach his lines? Yes. To be as weird as possible.
Well, you're from the South, so, you know,
You gotta be
say it like Kucha. Biloxi. Why would Sal give Mikey a flashbang grenade that's supposedly worth $6,000?
Trying to help him out.
Yeah, that's another question. Because again, he talks about he's worried about Mikey getting arrested for stealing coke, or not arrested, but getting killed for stealing coke. But he's given him weapons to go pawn.
That he was apparently in on and was planning on flipping, like getting some money back from it.
Yeah. Okay, maybe that's it. Maybe he was just going to use Mikey as a fall guy to fence stolen shit he takes from the police department.
My theory was that he had the flashbang and he felt bad for Mikey, and he was like, well, I mean, I knew you sell guns to the pawn shop. I don't know where you get those guns, which is a whole nother conversation. But here, take this flashbang grenade and go see if you can make some money, and you can give me a couple $100 for it.
Yeah. That makes sense.
How did JP leap in logic his way to knowing exactly what Mikey was trying to tell him in that scene?
Again, it makes more sense to think he was just telling him I'm at the arcade.
Yeah.
Yes. But then he fucking takes an hour to find him.
After we'll get done with
arcade.
this, the video games will be on me. Oh, okay, so he's at the arcade. He's telling me to come get him at the
why
arcade.
didn't he just like say, you know, oh, I think he's at the arcade, and then they just cut straight to him getting to the arcade.
Right. Instead, they bring up the convoluted thing of him protecting him from when his uncle killed himself and giving him some money to go to the arcade.
Albuquerque. See, I can do it too. Why would Eddie kidnap Mikey's daughter when JP was already going to bring him the money? Just
and then
because?
ask for less money.
And then ask for less.
Gain more leverage and ask for less.
It's because he's coked out of his mind, man. He's not thinking rationally.
Eddie's always been stupid, so
yeah.
200 will call it even. Whatever. I'm not even really that invested in this thing. I
Maybe
just wanted to see you guys again.
I'm guessing the $350,000 was a realistic amount because Mikey knew exactly how much money JP's business was worth, and so that's why they asked for that. But then it was like they're getting strung along so much that maybe Eddie sensed that he wasn't gonna get the 350 from him, so he just like, we'll give you 200 and we'll call it good.
I think they were trying to go for like, I mean, you know, that scene in Roscoe's was actually shot before everything else, and I think that they forgot what they were fucking doing in reality. But in the movie logic, I think that they were trying to show that he was desperate after killing his brother, and like he was
he just needed
to get out of this situation. Didn't expect to have to kill his own brother. Just wants to disappear at this point. I'll take anything as long as I can get, you know. Maybe he's going to one of those extradition-free countries that we've been talking about in every movie lately.
Yeah.
I saw Tokyo Drift. I can go there. Tokyo.
I'll just fly my helicopter over a place that can blow me up for being in their skies.
He's just hoping to like hop into the Gulf and head down to Mexico.
Yeah.
Or something.
Why would JP blow up his own money?
Right, and it's cash, so he's not getting it back.
Nope.
And he can't go to the cops and report it. I mean, maybe he could report it stolen. And
maybe Sal will give him a flashbang grenade that he can sell, and then...
Yeah, I mean, maybe he says he kept cash in a safe in the office and someone stole it, and his insurance will pay him back for it.
They're like, well...
You think, although he could have just done that to get the money, maybe.
Yeah. But then they're like, well, there's a bunch of dead bodies and a bunch of burnt cash, but your cash was stolen?
Right. Did nobody clean up the shot up strip club or barbecue place or billiards, whatever the fuck it was?
Yeah, how did that end afterwards? Like, did it just call Sal? Hey, man,
Sal calls Harvey Keitel to come. Like it never even happened.
It definitely seemed like it wasn't that much money in the briefcase, but why was there any money at all?
Right. Because as soon as they opened it, it exploded. So it was like, it's not like you had to keep up appearances. You know?
I don't know. Who the fuck knows? That was real money in that scene, not CG. Apparently, in the slow-mo scene, they were actually like dropping money down into the scene. So,
my God. Probably just borrowed it from the strip club.
It was Cusack's cut for that night.
Lap it up, baby. Lap it up.
Why would they allow JP to have a gun in that meeting? Why does he have a gun? Like that would end everything. Like, first of all, check out the case to make sure that he didn't put anything in the case. Second of all, frisk him to make sure he's not bringing a gun to the meetup with the fucking boss, who he has every reason to kill.
Why did Eddie even agree to meet him in the first place? Just have him take the briefcase and then have one of his goons kill him, because the plan was just to kill JP anyway. So
yeah,
why even bring him to the boss in the first place? Unless Eddie wanted to do it himself, because we know he likes to take things into his own hands and
he was gonna
baseball bat pipe people.
hit him with that weird claw hand.
The claw.
Maybe that was an homage to Deadfall.
Could be,
because of the claw guy. Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget.
It's time for the trackers.
All right, that leads us to the curse tracker.
All right. Sadly, there were some curses, so I had to actually track them.
Pay attention.
Yeah. There weren't many. There was only a total of 11, which is kind of on the low side for a Nick Cage movie.
Wow, and as Eddie King.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's part of the problem with the performance.
400 in the in Deadfall.
Actually, let's see. Deadfall, he had 44.
Oh my God.
So he had 4 times as much as he did in this movie.
In his 4 scenes,
Yeah.
44 curses.
Yeah. I mean, they were probably the same amount of screen time in this movie, but just made so much more of an impact in Deadfall. Anyway, one of those is goddamn, 3 shits, and 7 fucks. So fuck still reigns supreme, which I believe is also the case for Eddie King, where 34 of the 44 curses were fuck in Deadfall. Although in Deadfall, he also threw in some bitches, bullshit, asshole, bastard, and some hell, and some dams.
You know, he's staying true to the character for this one. He's toned it down over the years, so.
Yeah, it's Eddie King in his twilight years. Mellowed out a bit, took the edge off.
Yeah. Not snorting from a bottle, he's snorting from the table now.
Yeah, so with that, this movie cracked 600. We're at 602 total curses now for all of the films.
Nice. 600 Club. Isn't that like an old person's show?
I think it was a Jesus
700 Club. Okay.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. Runtime, this was mercifully 92 minutes. This is the same length as Pig. Think about that. Think about what they did with Pig
3 times
versus what they did with
Pig.
this.
I wanted more Pig.
And Pig had a way lower budget, if that 10 million is correct. So
Yep.
Storytelling does not require tons of money. Telling a good story. This was not intended to be a good story at any point, I don't think. It was just an excuse to slow-mo shoot guys in the nuts and stuff. About all it was.
And embezzled money.
And embezzle money.
I'll put 10 grand on paper. Or 10 million on paper, and we'll give you, here's 500,000. Go make a movie.
Here's 500,000. Make a movie. Got 13 days. Get Nick Cage for 1. Make the most of it. Nudity, this had none whatsoever, which is surprising. Probably couldn't, I think you have to pay extra if you force somebody to get naked.
Yeah.
Force some poor fucking actress who's in this piece of shit to get naked. Which this wasn't R-rated, and half the movie was in a strip club, but no nudity whatsoever. State and Country Tracker. This was in Mississippi. This is our second trip to Mississippi, technically, because we went to Biloxi once before in Bad Lieutenant, Port au Call, New Orleans, so that he could pick up Crack Roxy, who was with a client who was beating the shit out of her.
Oh yeah,
oh yeah, that guy, most memorable character. In that movie, more memorable than any character in this movie, and that guy was on screen for like maybe 2 minutes. So that's the second time in Mississippi. It's joined the multiple times club, which we have quite a few now. We're slowly working our way through 17 states. Budget versus gross, estimated $10 million. I don't know where they got that figure or even if it's correct, but we're just going to go with it because I never want to have to think about this movie ever again. So we do Back into the Cage. It made $41,037 on a $10 million budget.
Ow.
I mean, it did not technically get a release. So that 41,000 was all from
on demand.
No, I think on demand, as we've kind of seen, doesn't really factor into that.
I guess they wouldn't. Yeah, it was not reported anywhere.
So the 41,000 is from the limited release it had in the UK and New Zealand, whatever the hell places it was released.
Again, people thought they were seeing a movie about Arsenal, the soccer team.
That brings us up to a little over $1 billion on the gross, so 1.7.7, and the overall gross is now at 2.3.17 billion. Can't even this doesn't even factor into that. Just cumulative over the 20 movies that we've watched that made less than $50,000. Just inched it up to another million. On our top grossing films of all time, this is now the third lowest. But it made twice as much as Deadfall. So there's that. If you extrapolate that out to 1993 money versus 2017 money, it's probably about the same. Ratings, this was our 16th R-rated film. I am shocked that this got a rating. I didn't expect it to actually. I figured it would be unrated because it was during that period where nothing got a rating because it all went direct to video.
Yeah, but
did get an R rating, I guess, because it came out in the theaters in some place or right in the town where Arsenal plays,
where they play.
Which leads us over to the Cage Kill Tracker.
All right. You thought it'd be more, but you're wrong. 2 kills. Only 2 kills. All that killing, and he's only responsible for 2 of them.
So the guy with the pipe?
Yep, and then his brother.
And his brother. Wow. Yep. Surprising, actually.
Yeah. I thought there'd be more, but no, he just 2 kills, which brings us to a total of 165. So getting close to the 200 mark there. Finally, it's been a while, but he died. So again. 1 death in the film. Yeah, he died again. So we're also counting as a resurrection.
Technically, yeah.
Oh my God.
Which brings us to a grand total of 10 over the.
It's funny, 20% of the deaths are Eddie King.
Yeah.
Well, this was a real pile of shit. Let's rank this film on the Cageometer.
All right, that leads us to the most important question of this slog. Vince, where does Arsenal 2017 rate on your Cageometer?
I'm fucking over this movie. So 1 for the movie, just awful. Just fucking awful. We beat this horse to death. It makes no sense. I still don't understand. I know what the basic points of the movie are. I still don't remember most of this fucking movie because it was just such.
We just went over it in excruciating detail.
Yeah. And it's just all blurs together. It's just fucking garbage. It could have been a half-hour TV show, been more coherent.
Yeah.
And then as for Cage, the fact that he brought the character back bumps up my score for him. I got to give him a 2.
What was it going to be? A 1?
A 1.
Yeah.
But he had that one line about my brother's trying to fucking kill me, man. And that brought it up to 2 because you're like, oh, that's the Eddie I sort of remember.
I just feel like it honestly makes me more angry now, knowing that he was the one that brought this character to the film.
Yeah.
And he did nothing with it. Nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's not a bad performance because there's really no fucking performance. And I'm not going to give him a 1 because I mean, I know there's movies out there where he truly is a 1. Unfortunately, I don't have to watch those. But I can't give it anything more than a 2 because he brought the idea and didn't even fucking fulfill on what he wanted to do or what the character could have been. And it just made the scenes with him less enjoyable, which is not something that typically happens in a Cage film for me. He always seems to bring something that makes me enjoy him being on screen. This one, not so much.
Yeah.
So 2 out of 10 for Mr. Cage. Well, 1 out of 10 for the movie because this movie is just hot garbage. Just fucking awful. 92 minutes of my life I'll never get back.
And then 3 hours of us talking about it.
3 hours of us talking about it, which is the only thing that made this movie enjoyable. Is being able to break it down with you guys.
Honestly, sometimes watching these movies, I'm actually excited when they're just hot garbage because it's so much fun to talk about them afterwards.
Yeah.
Like Dog Eat Dog. That movie was so bad, but it was so much fun to talk about.
Yep.
All right, Nigel, where does this rate on your Cageometer?
This is one of the worst films I've ever seen. It doesn't have any redeeming qualities in my mind. It's awful. It's ugly. It's not fun. It's boring. Every character is unlikable. Everyone in it. It's just the story is cobbled together. It makes no sense in a lot of parts. I didn't have as problem following it as Vince did, as much of a problem, but it's not a story worth telling. So I gave it a 1 as well. Anything I can do to encourage someone to not see this film, I feel it is my duty to do that because it is a waste of time. There's nothing you'll get out of it. Even the morbid curiosity of seeing Eddie King again on screen is ruined by the fact that he doesn't really act like Eddie King for most of the film that he's in.
I think that's the whole reason that we chose to do this movie so early on in our run was because we had found out that there was an Eddie King appearance.
Yeah. But it's the acting is bad from pretty much everybody, including Nick Cage, in my opinion. And it's just there's nothing to get away. There's nothing to take away from this film except your time of your life that you will sacrifice watching it.
There's those neat slow-mo shots.
Yeah. Sorry to everybody involved in this turd pile, but it is not. It's pretty low.
Yeah.
I guess you're in good company with Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance on my rating scale, if you can take solace in that. But
so that happened.
I think no, I don't is going to replace that happened as an in joke for terrible dialogue. So for Cage, I gave him a 2 as well, and that's only because of, again, the morbid curiosity of seeing Eddie King again. If you're curious about that, it's worth watching maybe a scene from our YouTube of Cagiest Moments to see him do it for 10 seconds. And then that's it.
Skip the rest of the movie. Just watch those clips. That's
right.
It.
And like I said, like Vince said, I feel worse now knowing that it was his idea to play the character and then not give us anything that we liked about Eddie King, or he liked, or whatever. It's kind of baffling to me that he was the one that decided to play the character again and then not give us anything that was worth or resembled the Eddie King. I mean, a couple moments, but it's just poor performance. Really feels like he phoned it in despite doing some cagey stuff in it, but it's like he didn't want to be there. Cusack didn't really want to be there. It doesn't seem like anybody really wanted to be in the movie. But yeah, so
even his cagey moments were like bad. I mean,
Right.
they just
Yeah.
weren't interesting.
It's cartoonishly bad too, like in a way that Eddie kind of was in Deadfall, but a lot of characters in Deadfall were cartoon characters. They seemed like they were over the top and memorable, and he was one of the more over the top and memorable ones. And I watched my review of it again. I gave him an 8 for that movie for a lot of the same reasons. Like that movie wouldn't be worth watching unless it was without Nicolas Cage's involvement, in my opinion. And so many of what people know Cage as a crazy performer comes from that film as Eddie. And you get none of that in this. You get stuff you've seen before where he kind of does some weird shit and he kind of swears at people and does stuff, but it's not anything that's memorable that you really need to memorable or memeable or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So this one's a miss.
By the way, as a side note, on the commentary, the director and Jonathan Skeet kept saying Maymays.
Oh no.
God.
That's why Nicolas Cage is a walking Maymay. And I
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
you mean me?
How old is the director?
He's
not that old. No.
Jesus.
I think he graduated college in 2005. So he's,
How does he not know
he's
what
a
a
little
fucking
older
meme
than,
is?
than us, maybe.
Maymays.
Maymays. God, Jesus
damn,
Christ.
dude.
I mean, I guess that makes sense if he'd never seen Deadfall and hadn't even
Yeah.
watched the clip of Nicolas Cage May. So,
Watch me whip.
yeah.
Watch me May.
Yeah. Again, 2 out of 10. The only reason I don't give him a 1 is because of the novelty of seeing Eddie King again, sort of, for 5 seconds or whatever. And other than that, no, there's no reason to watch this movie.
Yeah. I guess that leads me to mine. I'm waffling because I originally gave it a 2 out of 10, but now I'm struggling to figure out any redeemable qualities of this film. The music,
But like you said, it gets muted. It disappears.
it just disappears. Yeah.
You could tell me it was stock music and I wouldn't
Yeah,
bat an
I
eye.
would be like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
It's the South
Probably
Park
cheap.
guys, man. You would think it would be great. Fuck it. I'm giving it a 1. This movie sucks.
Oh, this is going to be the worst score then.
This is
gonna
the
be
worst score,
reviewed
yeah.
movie yet so far.
Deservedly so too.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just go through it. Music was not memorable. Editing was not great. I have to give him credit for cobbling together scenes where actors weren't actually acting with other actors. It's like the scenes with Cage where he's acting with Mikey. They weren't even on. They didn't shoot on the same. Like the wide shots, they were together, but the close-ups, not so much. The cinematography was horrible, dude. It was like
It was shaky cam for everything.
Yeah.
it's like
You make jokes about the guy, the cameraman having a seizure in different scenes, but it was like that for every scene. It was just like they were just like loosely holding a camera while people were just talking.
They did a little bit of work on lighting in a few shots, like the scenes, the scene where like little kid Mikey is walking through the arcade and it's following him and everything else is blurred was pretty cool. I thought that was a great shot. Some of the shots in the strip club are all right. The shot where Mikey's about to shoot himself, where there's a little bit of lighting, but it's framed terribly. It's bad. It's bad all the way through. The acting is fucking atrocious. You got to give them credit because they wrote their own fucking lines, apparently. Still, it's like Jonathan Skeech, whatever, is he's okay, I guess. Adrian Grenier is bad. Cage is just, he didn't bring much to the table of trying to recapture the glory of a character nobody gives a fuck about. I don't know why. I don't understand that choice at all. Cusack was, he was there. He was there.
He could have been
didn't bring
anybody.
anything interesting to it. Nothing memorable. Nothing. I mean, I guess his outfit.
Yeah, his look.
That's what he brought to the table.
Yeah.
It's just poor execution on every part. Like the story doesn't make any sense, and at a certain point, they just abandon the storyline that they're going for. And like, I get that like they had other things in mind and they ran out of time and they had 13 days, but that's the onus on you. Like if I had the money that these people were given to make this movie and 13 days and Nicolas Cage and John Cusack, I could have made a way fucking better movie. Yeah. Way fucking better than this piece of shit. This was just like, it was just, well, we got these people, we got to make something. So let's just make something and put it out. It's not even a movie. It's terrible. No. Absolute garbage. For Cage, I also gave him a 2. It's kind of tough to give him a 2. I almost want to give him 1 because it's just bad, dude. Why did you make that decision to bring this character into it? I think maybe he read the script and was like, this is so fucking terrible that the only way anybody is going to ever want to watch this is if I bring back a fucking character from another movie.
Yeah. If I bring back that Mimi character.
Or it was a joke between him and his brother. Just to
I
see
think
if
that's
they
what
could
it
pull
really
off.
was. Let's just see if we can fucking trick this guy into making us allowing us to make a sequel to that piece of shit that you made back in 1993.
Well, why not lean into it then? Like you did in Pitfall. That's where I get offended the most by this. Like you fucking tricked us, bro.
Terrible.
Again, unless it was like we speculated, like he tried to do that and the director wasn't having it.
Yeah,
and didn't
maybe
understand what he was doing. So maybe he toned it down because he was told to. But
true.
It doesn't seem like it. It seems like he was calling the shots for whatever scenes he was doing.
Yeah,
so
he wrote that note and all that shit.
We all have an off day, and he was only on set for one
Literally
day.
a day.
So, so maybe he was just having an off day that day. I don't understand why this movie was made, personally. There's nothing of merit about it whatsoever.
I mean, we talked about how I don't know, we didn't, because there's like 8 studios that worked on it or something based on the opening credits. Like,
recurring theme with these really bad indie movies is that there's like 8 different studios, and sometimes that might be the reason for how bad it is like too many cooks in the kitchen trying to fucking like save the movie, because I'm sure the cuts that they were given, and it seems like there was studio interference because they changed the fucking name of the movie. They made them lose major plot points because the uncle raping Mikey at the beginning was cut. Mikey killing himself to save his brother was cut. So I don't know. Maybe this is on the studio. I don't know whose fault it is, but it's just bad. And it's your job to deliver something to us that's good, and you didn't. And therefore, 1 out of 10. Cage could have probably brought something more to this, but he didn't. So 2 out of 10. I feel like those are fair scores across the board for all 3 of us.
Yep.
Here it is, the moment you've all been waiting for. These are the cagiest moments of the film.
Let's talk about that brother of yours. I read about him. Mr. Entrepreneur, the blue-collar American dream. I make money, I build jobs in my community, blah, blah, blah. How's he doing?
Please, turn around.
Turn around? What, are you gonna fuck me first?
No, you're the fuck up. You fucked up royally.
Fuck you! You got no respect, no appreciation for your roots! I'm trying to bring you with me. It's not too late. You really want to pass this job up? 6 figures, easy money, no risk. Mikey, it's no risk, it's 6 figures. Mikey! Sorry about today. But you always were the great gem from War of the Gargantuans when it came to me! You got away, but I got caught. I was 17! The day I got out, there was nobody there to pick me up. I took a goddamn bus for the prison! You had taken my share, gone to Florida, then set up the business in New Orleans with my money! You fucker! What do you think, any good? Should I send it? Well, I can't send it because they fucking killed him today, all right? You hear about that little boy in Jackson? Yeah, his genius parents poured Drano an old soda pop bottle, and the boy found it, drank it. Guess what happened to him? Burned his esophagus. Started gagging. Puked up black blood and bits of his stomach. He vomited.
That's it for this episode of One Cage at a Time. As always, be sure to drop us an email at onecagepodcast@gmail.com to let us know if we missed anything. Whew, please don't. Please don't. Or hit us up with suggestions to improve the show, comments, compliments, or simply to gush about the legend who brought nothing to this film. Next, we'll be watching Nicolas Cage's first ever Western. Believe it or not, 40 years in the business. He never made a Western. Technically, Butcher's Crossing is his first real Western, but that's only because it premiered at TIFF in September last year, but it still hasn't been released widely. But still, on his IMDb, it will always be listed as 2022 because it premiered in 2022. You know, none of us have seen it. So, I guess, for our purposes, The Old Way is his first ever Western. A retired gunslinger is ripped out of retirement by the consequences of his past, and there's hell to pay when he and his daughter go on a mission of revenge. Tale as old as time. Or a tale that's already been told several times. As just the like True Grit, kind of. It's like if you took Josie Wales, Unforgiven, and True Grit, threw it into a blender, and made something kind of mediocre out of all of those. Not to say that it's bad, it's just not memorable. I don't know. We'll get there. Make sure, with that ringing endorsement, make sure to check it out wherever fine films are sold or on your streaming service of choice. Until then, we'll say goodbye the way we do each and every episode with our Nicolas Cage quote of the film.
Mr. Kuchar, we're finished here.
I'm gonna try to kill my man!
Thanks for listening to One Cage at a Time. Visit us online at onecageatatime.com or follow us on the social media platform of your choice for more Nicolas Cage goodness. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you really like the show, become a member of our Patreon where you can download unedited and ad-free episodes, as well as listen to our follow-up show, Back Into the Cage, where we re-examine each movie to discuss what we missed the first time around, answer listener questions, and wax poetic about the man, the myth, the legend that is Nicolas Cage.
No, I don't.